right, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Ain't It Fun podcast, episode 8. I can't believe we've gotten to 8. As you can see here, I think you're going to see on your left, we have someone new today. There they are waving. Sergio Mims.
Finally, people can see who I am.
I keep saying when I see you in chat is I go, Sergio's on. Sergio's on. This is Sergio.
With my big bulbous forehead. Right. Okay.
Movie historian, classical music, orchestra, music aficionado.
I got some over here for show and tell.
There you go.
I got some other stuff here I want to show you, show and tell. We got all kinds of stuff here today, folks.
I came prepared. I actually brought stuff down with me this time so I could show it. Is it you're a Renaissance man? What else can I say? There's the first two. Is there anything else? Do we add something else on?
Oh, don't forget film programmer.
So that's right. Black Harvest Film Festival.
Co-founder of the
right
Black Harvest Film Festival, which will take place again later this year, the 28th year. 28 years.
28 years. That's amazing.
28 years. Haven't seen anything yet but we still got time to program. I would have seen something if South by Southwest gave me a media pass, which
you still weren't able to get one between last week and this week. They didn't.
No, I don't want to go into it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm pissed.
Sore
really
subject.
Pissed.
Sore subject. Yeah. So when does your cutoff or your eligibility begin for the Black Harvest Film Festival?
It's now.
It starts January, January 1 to December 31st?
Technically, let me take that back. Technically, I would say April. April is when we really, people can start really sending submissions and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Okay. The cutoff date is usually now September.
So it's only that mid portion of the year. Or say, what if they made their film in August of last year? Does that mean it's not like the Oscars where there's like an eligibility?
The only thing is that the movie has to be made within the past year, and that it's a Chicago premiere.
Oh, well.
We don't care if you showed it any place else.
Gotcha.
That's as long as it had been screened in Chicago.
So for those who don't know, what exactly, you might be able to guess, but what is the focus of the Black Harvest Film Festival?
Well, the festival is Black cinema, new Black cinema from over the world. The majority of Black films, which are made every year, there are a lot of them, are made outside the studio system. So unless you get now a streaming deal or a cable deal or now a distribution deal, how do people get to see these movies? So that's why the festival was created. It's an opportunity for people to see these movies. And when we started, other film festivals, established ones such as Cannes or such as the Chicago National Film Festival, the New York Film Festival, Venice Film Festival, they really didn't concentrate on Black cinema. Now they are aggressively. And which means the competition is rough.
Sure.
And last year, I won't go into it, but the competition is rough. So, we really have to go out and find these movies early before anybody else gets their hands on them.
I was just going to say, it must make it way harder for you to get stuff that only premieres in Chicago if everything else is trying to scoop them up ahead of you or whatever.
Yeah, particularly one film festival that's in October that got a couple of movies last year that I was aiming for, and okay, fine. So fine. That's okay. Now, the deal was that usually the festival is in August. Every year has been in August. Last year, it was in November. And the reason why was because we weren't sure exactly how this whole COVID thing was going to work out, because we want to go back into the theater. I mean, the year before last, it was virtual. Like every festival was virtual, but we wanted to do it back in the theater. People love coming to the festival, and we did okay. We didn't do the kind of numbers we had done in the past, and I still think it was because people still hesitant about COVID. You know,
Yeah,
I think it
makes
was the main
sense.
thing.
I guess, yeah.
Now, to be on the safe side of caution, we're doing it again in November. Maybe next year we'll go back to August, as the way we usually do. But I will tell you this story. Um, I was at the supermarket today. I don't know about you, but now the situation is that one supermarket isn't enough. Sometimes you got to go to two to get some things that you need. That, like, I love mustard greens.
Okay.
Okay, I love mustard. There's only one place I know gets really great mustard greens. So I had to go to that place first. Before then, I had to go to the other store, the bigger store, to get what I want. Okay, so I was in the bigger store. I'm looking around, and I noticed some people aren't wearing a mask. And because the mask mandate has been lifted, it was lifted Monday, I believe,
Yeah, this
in our
last Monday.
state.
Mm-hmm.
In our state, and some people were wearing masks and some weren't. So I was like,
It's one thing, like I'm
but
sure
here's the
what.
thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I was apprehensive. I was apprehensive, right? Let's face it. I don't like wearing masks. You don't like wearing masks. You don't like wearing masks. Okay, but I just saw these people walking around without a mask, like as if they didn't have a care in the world. And I was thinking to myself, well, we have to get back to normal. Now, next week, everything could be blown, and we had to now we'll be back on masks again. But I took it off. Okay, am I going to hell? I don't know.
I doubt you're going to hell. I don't know if it needs to be that extreme. It's one thing. I went to the theater for the first time this week. I saw you.
Last week, right?
Probably for the first time in 8 months or something ridiculous. Because that's just my personal choice.
No, was it that long? Wow, was it?
It was a while ago. It was
Okay.
definitely a while ago. And that's just my personal choice. But even then, I mean, there was only what, maybe 20 people in that whole thing, maybe
30
25
people, and it's
max.
all spread out and it's all
way
contained.
spread out. Everyone's masked. Everyone's got, and even though whatever, it is what it is. But
Right.
Even then, if you want to stretch it or you want to do that, I'm thinking, well, I'll probably only do this once or maybe twice, 3 times this year, maybe 4 if I'm comfortable. But I'll still choose to wear a mask. That's my thing. Whatever. It's
Right.
another thing. I don't know. I don't know if I can still handle going to a grocery store and watching people cough all over the produce, or
Well,
they're walking down the aisles and
well,
grabbing
I
stuff off the
I
shelves
don't
and they're
go
looking at it
anywhere
while they're.
near the salad bar or anything like that.
Yeah,
I don't go
that's a whole nother level. I wouldn't go there anyway.
I don't
To
go
make
there
your
anyway.
lunch. No, but tomatoes, this, that, and the other. I was in this store. I not joke. The person had taken their mask off. I don't know why. This was before the mandate, and I watched them cough. Now they didn't pick a piece of produce up and cough on it like on purpose, but I don't know. I can't admit I'm not gonna do that to someone else. I would prefer if people didn't do it. I obviously didn't buy that piece of produce, but it is what it is. We're gonna have to live with it. Yeah, like you said though. Hopefully, variant number 4 doesn't show up and throw everything all into a tailspin again.
Two things. There still is variants of the 1918 Spanish flu. It's still around.
Yeah. 4 of those,
it just
I
gets
think,
weaker
right?
and weaker and weaker, right? And that's what happens with really deadly viruses. Each successive trait gets weaker and weaker. It will still be here always. And it will still always be people who will be affected by it. The numbers get smaller. It'll never go away, right?
It sounds like it.
The other thing too is that, let me tell you an experience I had 2 weeks ago. I was downtown. People are so childish. I was downtown and I had some time to kill, like half an hour. So I went to a Chipotle. It was nearby.
Sure.
Okay. So I went in and I was going to eat in the place. And the woman at the register said, "Are you going to take it with you or are you going to eat it here?" I said, "Well, I'm going to eat it here." She said, "Well, do you have your vaccination cards?"
Yeah.
And I didn't bring it with me because I didn't think I was going anywhere they were going to ask me with them. And I said, "No, I don't. I'll have to take it with me." Okay. But here's the thing. some idiot would go like, "What are you talking about? I have the right to eat here anytime I want." Oh God, oh, who are these children?
Oh.
Yeah, the adult person like me would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I left it at home. I didn't think I would need it. I'll take it with me. I'll eat it at home."
You would think the food is the most important portion of that. You got the
Right,
food, that's what you needed. You're gonna go eat it.
right.
Screaming at someone, the poor person who's probably working 2 jobs, making $11 an hour. Screaming at them isn't going to change the situation any. You're just making their life miserable. They don't own Chipotle. They just got to follow the rules, man. Yelling at that poor person doing their job, they're probably their second job of the day.
Tell me
Isn't
about
going to
it.
change anything. Isn't going to make anything any better. And that's what this really is all about. Is this podcast? I made it because for the past 24 months now, literally this month, we flipped. It's been a hellish night, nightmare hellscape out there for all different kinds of reasons, and especially in the news with what's going on now. We're just trying to think of other things that, it's hard, but maybe that bring us joy, or that we're interested in, that keep us, sane and try to get us through the day. Things that maybe can distract us from the horrible things in the world, and that was kind of why I did this. And obviously, you've been listening and watching and participating. And so the format is, as you know, three things. Three things that each of us, it can either be current, last week, 12 years ago, whatever. Things we enjoy now that bring us joy or do those things for us. And then one thing at the end there that we're looking forward to. It could be later tonight, tomorrow, a year from now. Something that we're interested in, we're really can't wait for.
Yeah, I got two big ones. But first of all, before that, let me tell you,
Okay.
I told you that if I know how much you love Seems Like Old Times.
I love it.
Okay. Well, if you love that film, then you really have to check out Talk of the Town
Okay.
with Cary
Okay.
Grant and Ronald Colman. Okay.
All right. I'm literally writing it down.
Okay.
Okay.
Talk of the Town, Cary Grant, Ronald Colman, and Gene Arthur, directed by George Stevens.
Okay.
Okay. 1943. It's the movie that really inspired Seems Like Old Times. The premise of the movie is that Cary Grant plays a guy who's wanted by the police for arson and murder, which he didn't commit.
Okay.
So he hides out in his ex-secretary's vacation home, which he just bought to rent out to tenants, right? And the first tenant there is Ronald Colman, who's a law professor. And Cary Grant, Jean Arthur passes off Cary Grant as her gardener.
Okay.
So I'm going like, when you see It Seems Like Old Times, you go back and look at Talk of the Town. There are very much similarities to the movie. Now, Talk of the Town actually gets more serious as it goes along. There's some real serious stuff in the movie. It's not just a straight out. There's some funny stuff in it, but it's not a straight out slapstick comedy.
Okay.
It tends to get more nuanced. But if you want to see the inspiration, what Neil Simon was trying to go for, but it definitely in a more heavily comedic vein, then you should check out Talk of the Town.
It's on my list. I literally just
Okay.
wrote it down.
Okay.
That's cool. Okay, good.
And then I asked you to watch Gambit, right?
Sure did.
Because I wanted you to I just wanted to know, what did you think of the commentary? That's why. Because
Okay.
you heard Eric's commentary for
Career opportunities.
Career Opportunity, which just shot up again on the sales chart.
Yeah, you were just telling me it shot back up to top 20. What, 17 or something?
17.
Yeah.
I'm really amazed. I mean, it's great, but I don't think even Kino knew.
It's one of those, Hughes, especially to suburban white dudes in the 80s, like the Hughes movies are seminal. They're our childhood, and I think a lot of people can see themselves, even, if you didn't live in the suburbs, or you're not a particular type of person. The whole idea was that people are different. but the struggles of being a teen, it was so universal, and everybody knows the big ones: Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You know all those.
Which I despise. I really hate Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I hate that movie.
Ferris?
You know, huh?
Ferris or
oh God, oh
Breakfast Club?
Oh.
Ferris.
No, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Oh.
It's funny now. The narrative about Ferris is he's actually kind of an a-hole, and you really shouldn't like
He
Ferris.
was from the beginning when I saw the movie. I said, "What an asshole this guy is!" God.
Yeah, but you Pretty in Pink. You know all the big ones, but that weird sort of extra one, the career opportunities one. Half the time, people A, don't even know what you're talking about when you mention the movie. B, that it was a Hughes movie. Or C, that it really didn't make a lot of money. And that's probably why no one does it. But it's a huge. I wouldn't say huge. Huge is probably overselling it, but it's a cult classic Hughes movie. People who like
a cult
Hughes,
following,
exactly, right. And
which I knew nothing about. See, like I said, when they offered it to me, do the commentary, and I was like, first I didn't even really remember the picture.
See,
when did this movie come out?
No one knows.
This film, and I could have done it. I mean, they could have sent it to me. I could have done a perfunctory thing,
sure,
but I know how much this movie meant to Eric. So I said, well, you're the guy who should be doing this, not me. I don't know this thing. You know your limitations, right? What you can and you can't do. But this thing keeps selling and selling and selling. And hello.
Hello. She's making a little cameo. There she is.
Hello. So I swear to God, I don't think Kino knew this thing was going to be like this.
I'm glad to hear it, because Eric deserves all that attention on top of the fact that movie.
And I'm going to tell you something. I think his commentary is one of the reasons why this thing has been selling so well. I think without question.
Well, with that, I that's what she was bringing down for me, because that's one of the things I forgot to bring down was you were gracious and you actually gave me a copy of the new release.
Yeah, I got more over there.
Well, it was very nice of you. You gave me one. I was literally going to order from Walmart, and because I was going to be going there, and so I figured I'll just pick it up when I'm there. But you're like, no, I got one. But this is the new release he's talking about. It's Gambit with Michael Caine and Shirley MacLaine, which I had never seen, by the way. I had never seen.
Yeah,
this.
It has a following. 1966, directed by Ronald Neame, who went on later to direct the Poseidon Adventure.
See, that's another thing I didn't know till I listened to the commentary.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you think? I just want to say what you think of the commentary, because I had a great time doing it with Howard and Nathaniel.
It was good. I did not know you were sort of sharing time with someone. And so it's not not that it was bad that you shared time with them. It just I thought there'd be a little bit more of you. That doesn't make it bad.
I got others of me you can listen to by myself. Just hold me alone. I'm going to be doing another one soon by myself, but that's be later down the road. It's a prison movie.
Okay.
I don't want to say I won't say the title yet, but it's a 1950s prison film, which I'm going to be doing the single commentary for that one later for Kino.
Okay. But yeah, I thought it was good. There was a good back and forth between you and the other gentleman. His name was Howard Berger.
Nathaniel.
Actually, there was really three. There was one guy, though, I think it was Berger, that was talking sort of the most. But that's the thing is...
that's Howard.
Like on Eric's podcast, on Childress's podcast, Eric the Movie Man, you have this great line that he stole and he puts at the beginning whenever he's talking to you. I'm an encyclopedia knowledge of you said it. I'm an encyclopedia of movie knowledge, or something along those lines.
Wikipedia movie knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, you really are, and so it's great, especially with these older. You can have people now online just watch movies and rate them. There's tons of YouTube channels, tons of people. I could talk about Hughes movies, but I am not a movie historian. I am not super knowledgeable. I know what I know, but I don't know stuff. Like Childress knows stuff.
Yeah.
You know stuff, but the thing that even Eric knows a lot, but I whenever I listen to you and him talk in particular, obviously you're incredibly knowledgeable on like the studio system back in the day, like you're talking 30s, 40s, 50s, as much as Eric knows, I mean, yeah, obviously you dwarf him when it comes to that sort of stuff. You have a lot of that knowledge for a lot of the older movies. Not that he doesn't know, but you really know. I mean, like this is your thing, right? Like if I say I like comic books, I know it. This kind of stuff is your bread and butter, right? I mean,
this is my thing. I have said this over and over again. The movies that mean the most to you are the movies you grew up watching.
Sure.
And for you, it's the 80s and 90s.
A little bit of 70s in there too. Just old enough.
The 70s.
Yeah.
But for me, it's 60s and 70s. And because growing up as a kid, you used to watch all the movies all the time on TV. But they show movies on TV all the time. And going with my father, I can still remember the first movie I saw by myself. Can you remember the first movie you saw by yourself?
Ooh, that would be rough. It might have been, may have been Jedi. I would have been 10. I probably, maybe Jedi.
For me, okay, they let me go downtown to see that I was way too young. 1 Million BC with Raquel Welch.
Hey, not a bad movie to see.
I'm telling you. Even as a kid, I go like, they should be naked. So anyway, with dinosaurs. So anyway.
I'm sure that was a selling point at that point.
And and I had one of those great fathers who, really great fathers who, he took me to see everything. He didn't care if it was R-rated. It just like it was even better. It was R-rated. Because he'd go like, "Hey, let's go see a new movie that's R-rated." Like
that kind of stuff, especially after PG-13 came out, that stuff kind of stopped. Because I was still before PG-13. So if you wanted to see like RoboCop, I got my mother to take me to RoboCop. It's like a movie, sci-fi police movie, and you show up and people's arms are getting blown off, and she's like, "Why are we here?" Nowadays,
it's coming on a 4K this month or next month.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I can't remember.
It's one of my
4K.
all-time favorite movies ever. But like you said, like. Back in the day, that wasn't a thing. There was no PG-13. It didn't exist. It jumped right from PG right all the way up to R. And
but it's also two things. First of all, I tell people, I was around before movies were rated.
That's true. I was not.
That's true. And then number two was that great in Chicago, they didn't care. They didn't strictly enforce, the rating code.
Up to me as well. I could still just walk right into an R movie when I was.
Yeah, I could just walk into an R movie. Didn't care. As long as you got your money, didn't care.
Right.
I could walk into X-rated movies at the time. Didn't care.
That also doesn't exist anymore in theaters.
Right. No, it's all on the internet now. So anyway, but yeah, that's why a movie like, and I said this so many times again, a movie like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood resonated so much with me because it was that period of time when I was a kid and the rating system had come out and movies had changed. It's one of the same things of that movie. Movies suddenly got adult. Like 69, 70. I mean, 69 had The Wild Bunch, which was then considered one of the most violent movies. Look at it now, it's a little kind of tame.
Sure.
But at the time, it was cutting edge. I remember my father taking me, "Hey, let's go see this," and me being traumatized, or my father taking me to see Across 110th Street, or, anything that was violent, my father would take me to see it, talking about Planet of the Apes, that was before the rating system came out. But when the original Planet of the Apes came out, it was a sensation. I mean, it was an absolute sensation. It was the movie you had to see. Everybody had to see it. And the great thing about it is that nobody talked about the ending.
Yeah, they didn't want to ruin it for spoilers.
Right.
Yeah, even back in the day.
Now you have idiots on Twitter who want to spoil out everything, right?
Yep.
But
before the movie even comes out, they're ruining it.
Right. Everybody knows. Everybody knew. Don't tell him the final shot. Because that's what makes the whole thing, puts everything into a circle. Everything, you realize what's going on. Yep. And then 2 years later, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And everybody had to go see that. Oh, by the way, speaking of movie history, somebody passed away today, who
Okay.
was a very important part of your life.
Oh, mine? Okay.
Yeah, you don't know it. Alan Ladd Jr.
I know the name. Why do I know
Okay,
the name?
Alan Ladd Jr., who was the son of Alan Ladd, who
Right.
was one of the most famous actors in the 40s and 50s. Alan Ladd Jr. died today at the age of 84.
I know the name.
He's the guy who greenlit Star Wars.
Okay. Wow.
He's the guy who greenlit Young Frankenstein. He ran Fox during the 70s.
I watched a documentary
And
about Young Frankenstein and that one.
there is a documentary about
Yeah.
called Laddie,
Yeah.
by his
Oh,
daughter.
I didn't see that one.
And he was really the last of the really great movie execs. He had vision, he had taste. He really supported filmmakers. And the famous story, the biggest mistake he made when he gave Lucas the merchandising rights, because he didn't think he was going to make any money off of it, right?
Which you'll see here in a little bit. Well, you can kind of see a little bit right here, behind me. It shaped my whole childhood. I mean, that we talked about action figures and pop culture and going to the store to get things and stuff. Star Wars, Lucas, and that deal, that merchandising deal, changed pop culture forever.
It did.
It
really did.
There were toys, but not like now. And
Yeah.
even now, you're talking 50 years down the line, 40 years down the line. Yeah, I'll show you. Like, they're reissuing stuff. They're remaking things for adults that want to remember their childhood or just didn't have the money when they were kids. Now they have a little bit of free cash. They buy stuff. That was huge. So, wow. I didn't know he died today. It must have been right before I started this, huh?
Yeah, I saw it
They
about a
announced
few
it?
hours ago.
Oh,
And then
geez.
when he left Fox, he formed his own company, the Ladd Company,
Oh,
and they produced The Right Stuff
okay.
and Blade Runner.
Okay.
And he was an amazing executive and producer. And like I said, he passed away at the age of 84, had a long, very successful, glorious life.
Good.
Still probably regret to his dying day the fact that he gave Lucas the rights, but he created that. I mean, when he gave Lucas that opportunity,
$4 billion later to Disney.
Lucas took it like a thief and ran with it. But it's sad because you don't have execs like Ladd Jr. anymore. You don't. You just don't.
Yeah, it's things have changed on that front too. It's all these mega corporations. Now you have like Warner Brothers being sold piecemeal. AT&T buys them, then someone else buys them, then they're dumping them off to somewhere else, and it's not like it used to be. That's why I always say, like, your knowledge on something like this, it comes back to the knowledge that you had of the movie studios, even going back as the 20s and 30s and 40s, and all these things, contracts and people having exclusive stars that only appear in certain movies because they were on contract and stuff. That doesn't work anymore. Shy of now the Marvel movies, you get 8 movies out of them because of a contract, but they can still do movies with other studios. It'd be one thing if it was like back in the day. So you have all that kind of knowledge. So it was nice listening to this. I watched it first without your commentary because I had never seen it. So I wanted to make sure I actually knew what the movie was about. And then I restarted it immediately afterward, and I turned on the commentary and I listened to it. And I gotta say, there's a joke Eric and I have. There's an old Dennis Miller stand-up comedy special. He talks about going to a wedding. And he's like, I was watching the footage back, and damn it, if Michael Caine wasn't in it, that's because he's so prolific. He's in like everything, and that's the joke. Damn it, if Michael Caine didn't show up. And so it was cool to see him younger. And I'll tell you, I only know Shirley MacLaine since the 80s. I had never seen a Shirley MacLaine movie dating back this far. And even I looked up pictures and stuff. I'm trying to remember other movies. Maybe I saw it, maybe I didn't, and I hadn't.
Like The Apartment, Irma La Douce.
Yeah.
The Trouble with Harry, her first picture that she made, that was directed by Hitchcock. Yeah, I mean, when she made this picture, she was a veteran.
At this point, by the time this is made.
Yeah.
The Gambit. Or Gambit, I should say.
And she's the sister of...
See, I know this, but I don't know this, now that you say
Warren
that.
Beatty.
Oh, okay. I did not know
She's
that.
Warren Beatty's sister.
Okay. That's something I did not know. I thought I knew it.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't. Okay, I'll have to admit. Oh, wow, okay. I did not know that. I knew her, in the quote later part of her career till now or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I didn't know this, and so while I'm watching it, I will tell you this is that when the twist happens, about a third
Yeah, it's
third of
about
the way
third
through
in.
the movie, the twist happens, and they show what really happens, or the execution of what you thought you were seeing at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but they show this Shirley MacLaine, this other side of her, and damn it, I'll tell you, she's super charismatic and charming and funny and different. Like I didn't anticipate her being this way. You know, I hesitate to say like cute, but you know, I never saw her younger. But yeah, she's super cute, but she's for the most part she's really charming, funny, biting. She, you know, every time she gives Michael Caine a little bit of crap, it's funny. We were really Mrs. Fun here wanted me to tell you she was going to take a nap, and I said I'm going to throw on this movie. You know, again, you know, I wanted to watch the commentary one, and so she's going to take a nap. And while it's on, in the middle of it, she's like, "All right, I can't take a nap. I got to finish watching this." And so she really enjoyed it, and I'll tell you, I did too. And you know, again, is this the only time it's been on DVD? Or had
No,
it
it's been on DVD before, but not on Blu-ray, and not on commentary. It's as I said, it's a movie about different layers of deception. This is what this movie's about. It's different layers of deception. The characters are deceiving themselves. The audience is being deceived. Herbert Lom, who I call the great Herbert Lom. I love Herbert Lom. People will know as Inspector Dreyfus from the Pink Panther movies, but he did like 1,000 movies, right? Including Mark of the Devil. I think I mentioned that. Mark of the Devil is this really violent horror film he made in '70. When you went to the show, they gave out barf bags.
Nice.
Right. So, and then at the last shot in the movie, you're deceived again.
Yeah.
The last shot in the film.
I will tell you this, and spoilers, maybe I shouldn't spoil it. I thought, here's what I'll say. I liked the first part of the movie. You assume I'll tell you this. It's obviously a heist movie. You can tell he's dressed in like heist gear, but it's like a heist movie. And so the first, half hour, they kind of show you the prototypical successful heist.
Right.
And then a twist happens, and basically what they're doing is they're showing you kind of what really happened or what did happen. And that's when her personality comes out.
Right.
He is completely unlikable, I think. Michael Caine's character. He treats her horribly, and she gives him crap in return because she doesn't want to deal with him that way. She kind of tells him to his face. I do think this is that although I like the play, the give and take, the back and forth, by the end of the movie, I won't say exactly what happens or the twist, but I will say this is that I think it does her a disservice because it shows you, especially at this time. What did you say? When did this movie come out? 1966. She's not taking any crap. She's, she's kind of empowered. She's not letting him get by with much, and she shows how smart she is, possibly smarter than him.
Right. That's the point.
I think it does it a disservice at the end. When basically,
I know where you're going at.
He throws in a "I love you," plants a kiss on her, and she turns stupid. Like, oh, and she can't answer anything, and then he basically shuffles her off and boots her out the door with him and takes her away. And I'm like, wait. I know.
That was the trope back then.
It's 1966. I get it. Things have changed, but it is weird watching it now. Like, it was kind of, I was like, wow, this is kind of empowering. Like, she's not taking any guff. You would assume they would not have let her get away with it in a movie in the 60s, but they do, and it's interesting. And then boom, in the end, they totally ruined it by letting him just plant that kiss on her, and she goes dumb. Oh, and then that's it.
But
that's
the
it.
thing
They're
about
in love, and I'm like, what?
The thing about one of the things I love about older films, aside from growing up with that stuff, is that they're very much a reflection of the attitudes and the customs of the time.
Sure.
So you can look at a movie, like I'm going to be, for the third year in a row, I'm going to be doing a class on film aesthetics for the Logan Center at the School of the Art Institute. There's
Okay.
30 of them going to be doing this. And actually, I think for the first time, it's going to be in the classroom. Before it was virtual. I think we'll do it in the class. But, I had to pick some older films. And, one of the things is that I got a bunch of younger people, and a lot of times I'm going to explain to them, there are going to be some dialogue here, or there are going to be some scenes here that will offend you, but that was the attitude of the time. The perfect example I always give is The Thin Man, the original Thin Man. There were a series of them with William Powell and Myrna Loy. In the original film, which is a detective murder mystery, Nick and Nora Charles, there's this wonderful, fashionable society couple who solve murders, right? It was a big hit, and the studio made like another 4 or 5 Thin Man movies. Here's the thing. You could not make The Thin Man today, unless you want to make one big change. You know what the change is?
I have not seen that movie, but
Okay.
I can, based on the time frame you're telling me,
Yeah.
I just assume it can't be made now. I get it. Yeah.
Oh, you can, but you have to make a big. Actually, they were trying to
right.
do a remake 10 years ago. They want to do a remake. The problem is that Nick Charles is a drunk. He's an alcoholic.
That would be a necessity to change it? Just
not today.
Part?
Not today.
You don't think so?
No, today. But he's charming. He's witty.
Like
he can solve
Arthur
crime.
kind of a thing. Like
yeah,
Arthur.
But he's always drinking. He's always drinking, and he's always tipsy, and he's drinking. And you can't do that today because now he's a person who has a substance abuse problem.
Yeah, okay.
You see, you can't. But back then, in the 1930s, drunks were funny. They could be charming. They could be, now reality. Drunk, talk to anybody at that time, they could probably tell you drunks were not funny, they were not charming. I can't imagine how many families' homes were wrecked because of alcoholism. But in the movies at that time, they were always smarter than everybody else, even though they were half smashed. They were always witty and charming and funny, and you can't do that in a movie today.
The guy at the end of the bar on the old Jackie Gleason show when he used to talk, when he would play the bartender and he'd talk to the guy.
Oh, what was that guy? Frank Fontaine.
Yeah, he would talk to him at the end of the bar, and he's always drunk and burping and stuff. Yeah, right. And he was always the funniest dude at the bar.
Right.
Yeah. It might be hard. They could probably do it still with the drinking in there. They'd probably tone it down a little, or they would make a comment about it.
Well, you had to do something. It's like when Author came out. I'm talking about the original Author with Dudley Moore.
Yeah.
What year was it? 1980?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
That was a huge hit.
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't that long ago.
One of my favorite songs, Arthur's Theme by Christopher Cross.
He is a straight-up alcoholic. He's got a drink in his hand. Oh, everybody, hey, what are you doing?
He crashed his car into the tree out in front of her house, too. Like,
right.
He
what's that show, Family Guy? Sometimes they bring out a character like Dudley Moore with a drink because even he's saying, like, can you believe this character actually existed? He was very funny at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So things change, attitudes change.
Well, and that's why it surprised me, because when the beginning of the movie, even Mrs. Fun was watching, she sees, like, Shirley MacLaine says nothing for 30 minutes, like, at all. You don't hear it at all, and you're like, wow, this is the way the movie's going to be? Maybe she'll have one line at the end, and it'll kind of make you think. Well, when that twist happens,
you should know something was up.
Yeah. And then when the switch happens and she starts actually talking, I was like, okay, well, at least they're going to give her some lines. But then when she actually fights back a little bit verbally with him, I was like, wow. I was really surprised, in a movie from the 60s that it was, quote unquote, they were allowing it to happen. It should have been okay. But, back in the day, I'm assuming they weren't allowing something as progressive as that to happen. Like,
well, the line that always kills me is Frank Sinatra made 2 movies about a detective named Tony Rome. Okay. First one's actually pretty good. Tony Rome. Okay. That came out 1968. Then he made a sequel called Lady in Cement with Raquel Welch. Okay. And that was one of the first R-rated movies. I remember my father taking me. As a matter of fact, in what's the movie? In Once Upon a Time in America, Brad Pitt is driving past a theater that has Lady Cement on the marquee.
Good
I said, I remember. We thought Raquel was going to be naked. No, she's not. But There's a scene in the film. Can you imagine this line today?
Oh, be careful, or I'll get deplatformed. Don't
No,
they'll cancel my
folks,
channel. Okay.
No. This is not. It doesn't have a vulgar. This is not. There's dirty words in it. But this is the line she says.
Okay.
So Frank Sinatra comes to see her.
All right.
Okay. She's in the swimming pool. She comes out of the swimming pool. She's wearing a bikini.
Okay.
And she sees Frank Sinatra, right?
All right.
And she says, maybe I shouldn't say it. Okay.
No, maybe shouldn't. Regardless, if you want to hear what she says, just write the movie.
I'll clean it up. This is what she says.
No.
This is what she says. Okay. No. She says, well, do you want to sexually assault me now, or should I call the police later?
Oh, okay. Quote from a movie, and she's calling him out that he's a creep.
No.
Oh,
not
wait.
in the.
She's being inviting by saying that?
Yes. Remember,
what?
68.
Wait, hold
1968.
on. I've never heard this before. She actually says that in an inviting way.
Yes. I can send you later. I can send you the trailer for the movie.
We are critiquing a movie. We are not endorsing this.
No.
We don't. Yeah, Mrs. Fun just said, say it.
But you see, what I'm trying to say, that was the attitude back then.
I know.
That was the attitude.
Yeah.
You can't say a line like that. No, not like, no, she doesn't say it like he's a creep. She says that she's turned on by this pot-bellied, toupee-wearing Sinatra.
Sure. Yeah.
And the music goes, wow, wow, wow. You know,
yeah. And then it cuts away, so you don't know what happened or something, right?
You know, Frank Sinatra's got a leer on his face, like, yeah, okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Different times, folks, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Different. But yeah, I liked it. I mean, again, for someone who's never seen the movie.
Is it a classic? No.
What, this?
Is it entertaining? Yes.
This?
Yeah, it's not a classic. Is it entertaining? Hell yes.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. And again, the twist is fun at the end. I liked the way you guys were discussing. Again, I'm not going to ruin the twist, but I liked how some people are saying, like, is Michael Caine's character in on? You know, he leaves, so is he in on it so that way he can impress the girl?
Oh yeah,
or is he not in on it? And actually, the other dude really did it behind Michael Caine's back.
Yeah,
yeah. Is there a whole? That's also another way to look at it. I thought that was kind of cool. I didn't even think of it that way till you guys mentioned it. And I'm like, yeah, that's interesting.
No, let's talk about something that makes me happy. Okay.
Okay. Oh, this was not your number one, Gambit.
What?
Gambit was not your number one.
Well, no, we said you want to talk about things that make us happy. I just want to talk about it. So let me talk about things that make me happy.
Okay, so this is your number one of your three?
Yeah, what's okay, 1, 2, 3. What's number 2?
Well, here, let me do number one. I'll do my number one.
Okay.
So my number one this week is going to be something I tried to pick something that not only I like, but that you can relate to as well. I think it's all a con. So I wanted to. Something else happened this week. We got to go see Batman. Although I think the thing's up, Eric hasn't posted his audio version of his podcast with me. So we're not going to talk about the new 2022 Batman today, but I want to talk something that I know you have a little place in your heart for, which is the 66 Batman.
Oh. Okay.
Whenever I talk about, I see you at the comic book movies that Eric takes me to, and we always talk about that stuff, and especially whenever I bring up Batman, the first words you say to me is, Cesar Romero's the best Joker. And I'm with you. He's way up there because as a kid, he's the first one I ever saw.
Right.
They were just reruns when I was born, just being played as reruns. And
I saw them when you were new.
Yeah, it was only a few years later, but yeah, it was. I was right there at the cusp of it starting to be in reruns, and I couldn't get enough of it. And I brought some stuff that I even have my original Batmobile diecast car from when I was a little kid, the two little Batman and Robin in there, and they're now getting fancy, like I was saying, with collectibles and stuff. They're now, Hot Wheels is making these sort of bigger versions. They're die-cast. I had a larger die-cast one when I was a kid, but they recently did this. So this is like a 1/16th scale, but it's all die-cast metal with real metal rims and rubber tires. It's like a deluxe version of a Hot Wheel, but again, this Batmobile is iconic to me. Even so much that Lego ended up getting it and making a Lego set with the little Batman, and your favorite, and this is why I wanted to show you, a little Cesar Romero Joker with his little pink suit and the whole thing. And it really started everything for me, because when I had the 66 Batman reruns and the Super Friends cartoon show, which they produced in the mid 70s to late 70s. And it was my first taste of that. I didn't have comic books then, but I knew that and the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and the Spider-Man cartoon with Stan Lee's voice on it. So I've heard Stan Lee since I was very tiny. But Batman was live action. It was a real car. It was a real Batcave. It was and it was on TV, and it wasn't just a cartoon. And it blew my mind. What is your relation? You would have been, I'm not going to ask you how old you were, but you're not that far ahead of me. Were you like actively watching it on TV when they would?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was a young kid. I was watching it all the time. It premiered on my birthday, January 13th. And it was a big deal. But it was jarring because it was a comedy. And, I knew Batman for the comic book, so I expected something serious. But it was a comedy. And so, but you got hooked into it, right? And every week you wanted to see who was going to be the next villain, right? And it came a point where big people, movie stars, wanted to play a villain on the show. You had some named people like Cliff Robinson. You had Ann Baxter. You had Otto Preminger played Mr. Freeze, the director. Vincent Price played Egghead. And then came the Green Hornet.
See, which wasn't on my radar when I was a kid.
Oh,
now, that was on TV what years?
It was on for 2 seasons. I want to say 66, 67, 68, 68, 69, something like that. And that was something else because that was Bruce Lee. And I had seen like judo, karate. I had never seen martial arts. And when Bruce Lee is Kato, I had never seen that before. I mean, he would like fly through the air. I would, what,
yeah,
like fly through the air, kick a guy in the head, and then you had the Black Beauty.
What a nice looking! That's another nice looking car.
Which was a Chrysler Imperial with green headlight, and I said, "That's the car I wanted. I wanted that car." Which is why I hate that movie so much. That movie defiled. It was miscast, woefully miscast, directed by people who don't. I mean, the Green Hornet. You could do the Green Hornet as Batman.
Yeah.
Well, because that's what it was. If you look at the TV show, it's film noir. It's film noir.
It took it way more seriously than the 66.
Yeah,
Batman's all camp. It's all silliness.
Yeah,
but Green Hornet was always serious, right? It was always.
Look at that. When you look at that show, it's shot in dark shadows. That thing is darkness. It's light. I mean, if you're gonna do a Green Hornet movie, it should be like the new Batman film. It should be a dark film noir movie about a guy who is psychologically messed up, and he has this phenomenal sidekick, Kato. There's a great film to be made of the Green Hornet. That film wasn't it.
No, it was not. Well, that tells you just how amazing it was, especially in the comic book world. He wasn't campy like the TV show. The TV show when I was a kid, the one we're talking about, the 66 Batman, is all camp. Biff, Pow, the whole thing. And the comics weren't campy like that, but they weren't overtly serious either. And things changed when I was in high school. It was around 88 or 89, I believe, when Frank Miller reinvented him. It was called Dark Knight Returns, and it was about the old grizzled Batman. And and not only that, but in the mid 80s, you had Marvel introduce the Punisher, and all these sort of gritty, revenge stories, or guys who would take things into their own hands, not just vigilante like Batman, but like gritty, mean guy, like vengeful. And that changed, which ended up being, although Burton's is cartoony in a way, it made it dark again. Michael, I'm Batman, and everything is dark the whole time. It changed everything back to the way people expect Batman to be. But like you said, there's always going to be a place in my heart for the campy, silly Adam West Batman.
Yeah, there always will be, because it was fun.
Yeah,
it was a fun show, and ironically, it's looking at it today, you still have fun with it. You could argue maybe it's dated now. It's very much a 1960s show.
Oh yeah,
it's very much a 1960s. You want to know the 1960s? That show and Man from Uncle, and my other favorite show was Wild Wild West.
Okay,
which was the most violent show on TV at the time. That show was, and Robert Conrad. When Robert Conrad died, he was in a wheelchair. He broke up his body so many times on that show. You look at the stunts that he did on that show. There's a famous incident where this is really true. There's a one episode where he's on like a second floor landing of a bar, and he jumps up and he grabs a chandelier.
Okay.
And the chandelier gives way and he crashes to the floor.
Okay.
That was not planned. And when he hit the floor, he was seriously injured and he was in a coma for 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
They had to shut down production for that season. Okay. And then when he recovered and we say he was good to work, they started from that moment when he lands on the floor. So you see that episode, you see him grab on, he crashes to the floor, and in a cut, you see these guys run up and grab him off his feet. That's months later.
Wow.
When he recovered. That's what it's another episode where he's in like a second floor of a room, and he actually goes through the wall of this room into the next room and lands on the table and gets up and starts fighting everybody. And I go, this guy's insane.
There was no CGI back in the day like that.
No, there was no CGI.
No.
It was like, you did it, you get hurt.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, I don't know if you can talk about this, but what did you think of Patterson? Can you talk about that, or you don't want to? You want to wait for that?
I'm going to save that because
okay, fine.
I do that on Childress' thing.
Yeah.
All I will say is this: is that without spoiling anything for that, is that I didn't hate it. So people I think were expecting some people to maybe hate it because they were like, "Oh, it's Pattinson." All I'll say for now is that I didn't hate it. I think I
his thing will go live I like
Friday.
it very much in the role. Very well the flack that Keaton and got.
Oh yeah.
When he was Cap, they wanted to, tar and feather him. They said, "What are you doing?"
Beetlejuice is going to be Batman. You're like, yeah, all that.
Right. And so when Patterson got the part, I said he could work. I don't know, he could work.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to diss him. Everybody said we'll start a petition to have him removed. No, don't be silly.
It's ridiculous. Like I said, I won't go too much into it, but I will say this is that yeah, I didn't hate it. And again, everybody listen to the Movie Madness podcast. That's Eric Childress, who's normally on here. That I think is going. I think he's putting it up Friday, and then he'll tell me, and then I recorded it like this for him, so it'll be under my Ain't This Fun podcast video section. But if you want to hear the audio, I will not be doing the audio. It'll be on his podcast network, and so I'll put a link in here for that as well. But yeah, I like I was telling Eric last week too. Like I'm a big car guy, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And people beating up their bodies a little bit
It's
later.
a hell of a chase. I will tell you that. It's a hell of a chase.
That 66 Batmobile is so iconic, and I don't know if you've ever been to the Volo Car Museum in the northern portion of Illinois here.
I've seen the Batmobile before, but I don't know if it's a replica or I don't know if that was the real.
I don't think it's a TV Batmobile,
Yeah.
but they have replicas that have been made, in the past. And then I know at one point I went there, they had the Bat Boat from the movie, and they had Batgirl's cycle from the show.
Okay.
From the 66 or 67 movie, right? Or 68 movie?
Ooh, you're good.
Something like
67,
that, right?
67, I want to say. I want to say it was 67.
They had the boat because of the shark. They had the boat. They had Batgirl's motorcycle there, and those were the movie and show ones. I remember that because they had the placard up and everything. But for a long time, they had a Batmobile. It might have been a TV one. But there are times, on occasion, where they will have commercials here in the Chicagoland area or whatever, and they will rent it out from Volo. And there was one where they're driving the Batmobile down Lakeshore Drive. And I bet I would never have been able to afford it, but I really tried when I got married to try to figure out a way to rent the Batmobile to drive up in the Batmobile. If the 66 Batmobile. That's how iconic that is. That's how much it means to me. I got to walk out to the Superman theme, the 77 Superman theme, or 78 Superman.
78.
Yeah, but I didn't get the Batmobile, not because of Mrs. Fun, but because I can't afford it. But yeah, there's been commercials and stuff, and again, if you see those things on the street, it's very rare. They're beautiful in person when they're done well, and you'll never forget it. That guy went on to make the Monkey Mobile and
Chuck Barris.
Yeah, Dragula, I think.
Is it Chuck Barris? Is his name
Barris.
Chuck Barris?
Yeah,
Chuck Barris. Yeah.
Monkey
he was the guy to
Mobile,
go to get.
I think there's one or two other big ones. I don't think he did the Green Hornet car. But now that you say Green Hornet,
sure.
Isn't there like a 2-episode crossover where the Green Hornet appeared on the 66 Batman, and I think Batman appeared.
It started with the Batman show, and then you had to see the conclusion on the Green Hornet. Green Hornet was on Friday nights.
Okay.
Right. It was on Friday nights. Around this time right now. It will be on Friday nights.
And
then after it was
amazing.
over, then I would see Man from U.N.C.L.E., which is on 9 o'clock on Friday nights.
I haven't seen that in a very long time, but I remember watching it on Nick at Night in the early 80s. They would play Man from U.N.C.L.E., Mr. Ed, all those shows. I would watch.
Which is why I refused to see the movie. When they did the movie, I said, I can't see it. They're going to ruin it. And on top of that, they don't even use the music. Man from U.N.C.L.E. had one of the coolest themes. Dum, 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 dum. They don't use the music.
Or did they probably remix it? Have like
I didn't see it.
or something?
No, because I talked to a friend of mine who saw it, and I said, she wanted to see it for the clothes, And I said, do they have the music? She said, no. They don't play the music? No, forget it. I don't think they want to get me to go see it. And it was directed by, who's that awful director? Oh gosh, he was married to Madonna. What's his name?
Oh, I was gonna say Mick G. He's the guy that does Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah, right, that guy.
Right.
A guy.
Yeah, guy.
Forget it. He's
Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie. Right, he directed it.
Yeah.
I said, well, it ain't gonna be no good.
Yeah. I even to this day, and the worst part is since I was a kid, whatever, I think it was ABC that broadcast Batman 66, or was it CBS?
What, the show? It was ABC.
This ABC. Okay, so I had.
Oh yeah.
So ABC had it, and somehow they locked up that it's like this whole Marvel thing where they can't make a Hulk movie, just a Hulk movie anymore, because Paramount has the Hulk movies, but they can put Hulk in other movies, so some weird rights issue. ABC had the rights to the 66 Batman, but only that Batman and that iconography, that car, that everything. So you couldn't do anything with it. There was no merchandise since I was a kid, and those Ergo Batmobiles and diecast cars and stuff, they stopped making them. DC had to buy the rights back because Disney ended up buying ABC. So in a weird way, Disney owned the TV version of Batman. So DC had to figure out a way to buy the right. I don't know how it worked. I'd have to look up the old article, but they ended up
It's
buying.
all a mess.
They ended up buying. So really, Marvel could have put out a weird, but they didn't. They got the rights back. I want to say it was like 5 years ago now, 4 years ago at this point. So now DC and Warner Brothers have that back. So now that's why I was able to show you this newer stuff. Tons of action figures, tons of cars, and it's all kids maybe would watch the show. It's all out on DVD. It's streaming on HBO Max. Any kid can watch. You don't have to worry about, a 5-year-old watching it. There's nothing harmful in it for them. And but you get this fun stuff like that little Lego set or the little Hot Wheels car. So for $5, I get to go in and grab something that reminds me of my childhood. And now they have action figures again of the 66 version of the Batmobile and stuff. So these, 6-7 inch action figures. And it's for guys my age who remember watching those reruns. You rush back home from school, and there's nothing I wanted to see all of them, but there was nothing cooler than when they would have that quick break and they would show the Batgirl cycle zoom through, and they would say with Yvonne Craig, and you knew then that she was going to be in that episode. And I had a huge crush, obviously, on Batgirl, and it was always fun because you never know which villain, and then you may get Batgirl in there, and I'll still throw him on occasion. And the fact that Adam West went on to do other stuff, but he never shied away from remembering what ultimately will always be his legacy. I'm sure, other movies and things people will respect him for, but even on Family Guy, he was Adam West, ex-Batman, the town mayor. And it was, and he was Adam West's voice, and he totally played it up, and he was silly about it, and he didn't, I hate that stuff. I hate, like Alec Guinness ended up hating being in the Star Wars movies. Adam West loved it, played it up until the day he eventually passed. And you got to love him for that. You got to love him for that.
Well, it's when you look at those actors back then, Cesar Romero had been a Hollywood movie star for decades. And in a way, he was the unlikeliest guy to play that part. But when he got it, he played it to the hilt. I mean, you can tell he loved playing that part. Frank Gorshin,
Riddler. Oh, so good.
Frank Gorshin was an impressionist. He also was an actor, but he was an impressionist. He was known. You see him on TV all the time. He'd do impressions. But when he got the Riddler, he wrote it in a part. And then Burgess Meredith had been around for decades. He had also been a director, film director. One time he was blacklisted by doing the House of American activities. He couldn't work for a couple of years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so when he plays the Penguin, and then voice, so and the cigar cigarette holder,
it's like this long too, right? It's like a foot and a half away from his face.
I and the purple top hat, you loved them, but they reveled in it because it gave them a chance to really express themselves, and really to be out of character, and do something they had never done before, and Paul Dano is fantastic in that role, but it's a different one. It's a different Riddler. It's a different time. He's more, even though he takes some things from Meredith. The laugh. He still references Meredith in some things here and there, but once again,
Colin Farrell. You mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Colin Farrell. I was talking about Paul Dano's the Riddler. I was referring to Paul. Yeah. I meant the Riddler.
Gotcha.
He takes some things from Frank Gorshin. That's what I meant to say.
It'll be interesting when you hear when Eric releases the Childress releases the podcast.
Yeah,
I make some comments from you may
no
jibe with.
Penguin is something else. You have to explain that more to me, because Penguin. First of all, Eric and I, we love Colin Farrell. We think he's an actor who is just an extraordinary actor who maybe hasn't gotten the best roles or picked the best parts for him.
He's also had some problems. He kind of gets in his own way on occasion.
Well, but he was honest. He's been honest about that.
True.
He even said, I love this, because he got caught up in the Hollywood lifestyle, right? So he went back to live in Dublin to get away from everything. And that's where he lives, in Dublin. And I go like, to get away from drinking, you went to Dublin? So anyway,
you would think that would be not a place to go.
Counterintuitive? No, but he said he just wanted to get back to where he was from, and get away from that. That's an amazing. I mean, first of all, the makeup job is amazing.
Yeah,
it's absolutely amazing.
You'll hear me talk about it on the podcast. There's some, and I told you before, and I'm not going to ruin anything. I'll send you some screenshots from these video games I play called Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham City, Batman Arkham Knight. I think they took inspirations from a lot of things, and you'll hear it in the podcast. But specifically Penguin, he's very shy of the monocle. He's right out of those games. Not obviously they didn't steal it, but like it's very similar, and it's you'll see, which again comes back to the cartoon and some other stuff. But I'll send you a couple screenshots, and you'll go, "Oh, I see what they did." You'll see it. So yeah,
this for people, when you see the Batman, get rid of your old ideas about Burgess Meredith. This is something else.
But do yourself a favor. It's on HBO Max. If you have it, go watch the old Batman.
Oh, no, HBO Max now. Okay.
I believe it's on HBO Max.
Okay.
Or is it on Paramount? ABC? Paramount? I'll have to look. It's on something. Okay. It's all streamable now. And at the very least, I know it's been on DVD 9,000 times. So you can find it. But they're so fun to watch. They're just so silly. And if you got kids and you're like, oh, maybe I can't take them to the new Batman, you can always throw that on. It's like a living cartoon. It's glorious. All the silly Biff Bam Pows with the cutouts and the cartoon people punching each other and the Batusi.
Bam.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Batusi dance that ended up. I think the Batusi went to like number 1 or something on the music charts. Right. It's ridiculous, but it's so fun. And if you live anywhere near the Chicagoland area, do yourself a favor, go to the Volu Museum, because I think they still have the Batmobile, and they might still have the boat and Batgirl cycle there. Yeah, that always makes me happy. So, what's your 2? What's your second one?
Things that make me okay. My movie poster collection.
Okay.
So I have to show you the poster that got me started.
Okay.
Because this was given to me by a friend a couple of years ago, and she knew I would appreciate this. And it's probably going to appear backwards, but it is the original Superfly poster.
Oh, that's awesome!
And the reason you can see here at the bottom, it's a New York poster, Low State and Low Cinema Theaters. 86th Street and 3rd Avenue. This is the New York City poster.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know they did that. So they would make individual posters for...
No. She found somebody had a collection of them, and she got one for me. And
But I mean, the fact that they put the actual theater, printed it on the poster.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like a sticker.
In New York City back then. Yeah, they would.
Wow, that's cool.
And this is probably a $200-$300 poster.
That looks super clean. No folds or bend marks.
No folds or anything.
Oh, that's great. It was rolled at some point. That's awesome.
That started me collecting posters, and all the ones I have are reproductions, except for one.
Okay.
Which is another original one. I just want to show you, but once again, going back to movies that meant a lot to you. So I want to show you some of the ones I have. These are just some of the ones I have. Okay, like I had to get rid of these frames, like Rollerball.
Nice. I love that. That graphically designed. That's one of my favorite posters.
That's a hell of a design.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
It's a hell of a design. It's a great film. This is one of my favorites. Maybe still my all-time favorite Bond film of all time. On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
The skis, so good.
And by the way, this is the work. The guy who did this work, his name is Frank McCarthy, who is still alive.
Okay.
Frank McCarthy did a lot of the posters in the 50s and 60s. This kind of detailed work. You can always tell Frank McCarthy's work in a minute.
Kind of like what's his name, Drew Struzan, the guy who does all the like Indiana Jones posters.
Yeah.
And, yeah. You see him and you go, oh, I know that guy. I've seen that.
One of my
before.
also all-time favorite movies. I remember my father taking me to see as a kid. Were Eagles There?
You know, I've never seen that.
You seen Inglourious Basterds?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm assuming it's of similar style, but yeah.
That inspired it. There's another film that I got some more over here. Okay. So you talk about when you're a kid, right?
Sure.
And movies inspired you, okay?
Uh-oh.
And you see you want to be Luke Skywalker or you want to be Indy Jones, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Uh-oh. You got a lot of giggling going on. The Mac.
The Mac, right?
Yes.
This is the movie. Max Jr., who passed away January 1st this year, age of 86. But this is the movie he made about an ex-con who becomes the Mac of the Year, the Pimp of the Year. And seeing this as a kid, I'm like, how can I get some women on the street and trick and make me $1 million?
Jesus. I guess
that's what I want to do
back in the day, right? I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's what I want to do.
That wasn't like that in my neighborhood. I'll tell you that.
That's what I want to do. If I can find some women, because in the movie it shows it real easy.
Ice-T openly talks about it.
Yeah.
I believe it's Ice-T. I want to say, Snoop openly talks about it. He used to hang out with Don Magic Juan.
He's a character.
Yeah.
I actually met him once.
Really? Don Magic Juan? Did he have the goblet and everything with him?
He had the goblet.
That's nice. But yeah, there's a few rappers, especially now, and now you call them old, but the rappers from the day, they openly talked about that. That's what they did when they were kids in order to make money back where they grew up. Unfortunately, that's what they had to come to in order to survive. But yeah, it's interesting that you're saying this particular movie was this widely shown? I have to admit I have not seen them.
Well, in urban areas.
Well, that's why I used the word widely. I was trying to be as yeah.
I don't think it played in Elk Grove Village over in Netka.
No. Well, you never know, because again, some of them became extremely popular, right? Like
like Shaft or some other movies.
So that's why it might have blurred the lines, but it may have become so popular that it did eventually work its way out. Yeah. But the Mac was not one of them.
Right. I don't think the Mac was one. Maybe. I don't know. But no, that film was like Superfly. But the thing about it, what made these films important was that. And this is something I have written about. And among the other things I do, I've also write about movies. Yes. I critique films and written extensive pieces on films. At this period of time, say the Blaxploitation era. Now, that was really important to me because you hadn't seen like Black men being heroes.
We've talked about this, you and I.
Right. They hadn't been seen. I mean, yes, there was Sidney Poitier and all that, but like we wanted to see like James Bond. We wanted to see a Black guy defeat all these villains and get the woman at the end and all that kind of stuff. And these movies kind of reflect, and these movies gave us that. They were trumping against the odds. The other thing was that the Black civil rights organizations hated these pictures because they wanted to present a nice image of Black people, the acceptable image. And these films would say, okay, yeah, but there is another world out there. There are people who live this life of, Superfly, being a drug dealer, of, the pimping game, of gangster stuff. I mean, there's another life out there, and you're not going to deny it exists, right? And if you can have films like Little Caesar or Scarface, I'm talking about the original Scarface, 1930s,
okay,
or White Heat with James Cagney, you can have films about Black gangsters too. Why not? They exist. They are real people. So,
like you're saying, interesting double standard, right? You can
Yeah, it
have
is a double
you can
standard.
have
Right.
white quote unquote gangsters.
Right.
Tons of movies glorified. Everybody loves them. Everyone wants to go to the theater and see them. But if you did that, they wouldn't even greenlight. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously bigger studios probably weren't even willing to greenlight movies like that with
Oh,
a
many
black
were made by
protagonist,
major
right?
studios.
It-
Every,
yeah,
every major studio got in the game because they were cheap to make. They were cheap to make. They
your
cost a
Paramounts,
fraction.
your that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
They would. Oh,
Paramount,
they did.
Warner
Okay,
Brothers,
okay,
um, Paramount, Warner Brothers, MGM, Fox, Columbia. They all made blaxploitation films. American International made a ton of them. They were cheap to make. They always made a profit. And they, you can make one of those movies for what you would pay an actor was, these films would cost $1 million or less,
sure.
and they would make a ton of money. A studio says, hey, it's no risk. We can make these films, even if they don't get wide distribution across the country, even if we don't show them in 3,000 theaters like you do today, we can still make money off of them. Now, that all changed. That all changed kind of started with Star Wars and Jaws,
Sure.
because you got everybody. And the studios realized we don't have to target an audience. We can make this one film, and if we target it right, we can get everybody to see it and make more money than we can count. Instead of piecemealing it, this movie makes this money over here, this movie makes this money over here. So, Jaws was the beginning of the end.
Well, people are still having that argument about blockbuster movies or summer movies or whatever ruining cinema forever because
well,
you
first
can't
of
have
all,
other
you got to
movies on.
remember, before Jaws, there wasn't a summer movie season.
Right. Jaws
Didn't exist. As a matter of fact, they weren't sure Jaws was going to be. They said, "You're going to release this when did it come out in June? You're going to release this in June?" Because the studio's attitude was that people don't go to see movies during the summer. They're out on the beach, they're at picnics, they're on vacation, they're having barbecues. They're at the ball game. They don't have time to see a movie. So when Jaws came out in mid-June of 75, 74, yeah, 75, there was a huge risk. He said, "Oh, this is going to work."
Would you say that, because again, quite a few of the posters you showed are sort of obviously the black focused actors, and like you said, sort of the
I got one
actors.
More down here, which
you
one of my
definitely
favorite. Go ahead.
Me. Would you would again? I'm assuming I don't know. It would appear though that once those sort of blockbuster movies kind of come in, you would see less and less of an actor of color taking the spotlight or even a sidekick role probably for a lot of years in some of those bigger blockbuster movies.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden now they get pushed out.
Right. By the mid to late 70s, what black films are around?
Yeah.
What black actors? It was, you had to see what was out there. And now, sure, there were good movies, but it was and then it comes in waves. And in the 90s, there was the whole black romance movie genre that came out that guys didn't want to see. And then in the early aughts, there was Tyler Perry, and there was a whole. Now he's
Sure.
faded away. Now he's Netflix. Now what's really happening is that I could ask you something, by the way.
Okay.
You have a whole new black genre. I mean, so many different black sci-fi, the black westerns.
Yeah.
Everybody's experimenting now, and it's really great. Now, here's the thing I want to ask.
Don't they call it? Please forgive me if I mispronounce it. Don't
What?
They call it Afrofuturism, right?
That's something else. That Afrofuturism
but
is
that's sci-fi.
black sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, black sci-fi.
Yeah.
Right. Like Black Panther.
Yeah, that is kind of one. Yeah.
I'll
agree with you there. Yeah.
That's like an avatar for actually, I have a friend of mine, Yatasha Womack, who I know very, very well. She lives in Chicago. She wrote the book on Afrofuturism.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, there's a big Afrofuturism music festival going on right now at Carnegie Hall in New York City. They're getting all these jazz musicians to play at Carnegie Hall. It's a big deal. No, let me take it. Just ended. It was the month of February. Just ended. And I know Natasha was there for the whole thing. but there's a lot of apprehension about Wakanda Forever. A lot of apprehension about that
The
movie.
idea of them promoting Wakanda Forever, or the
The
hands on
fact
the
that you don't have a
chest.
Black Panther.
Well, because of the title, the name Black Panther.
No, but he's not in it.
You mean the new one?
What new one?
I guess I misunderstood.
No, the movie Wakanda Forever. Okay, which is coming out end of the year.
Yeah, the sequel.
Right.
Yeah.
But Black Panther's not in it. He's dead. They didn't recast him.
No. They still haven't explained what they're going to do yet, but in the comics, the mantle has been passed. So it's still going to be called Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Someone else will probably get... They still haven't said what they're going to do. There's some talk.
That's the apprehension, you see?
Well, there's some talk it's going to be Shuri.
You see, that's not going to make guys happy. That's not going to make
I understand.
guys happy. Okay?
Yeah.
Really not going to make it. And particularly after she's caused all the chaos. I'm talking about the actress.
I know.
I mean, I don't know how...
We've talked a bunch of times how, I mean, Marvel was going through bankruptcy when they sold the movie rights to Blade. You wouldn't have any of what this Marvel stuff has been doing the last 12, 15 years if Wesley Snipes and Blade hadn't come out as an R movie. An R-rated superhero movie way before Daredevil or a Deadpool. And that first, I like the first and the second. 3 is Trinity's all right. The first and second blew everybody away.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have it helped them get out of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And so you wouldn't have anything if those movies hadn't come out. And a lot of people seem to forget that.
I have friends, they live in New York. They have friends who are real Black comic book nerds. And I always bring it up. You know, without Blade, you wouldn't have all this. No. Well, Blade was really part of the MCU. Don't start that. If it wasn't for Blade, you wouldn't have all this.
Right.
And, I always told the story that Eric, for a long time, was trying to get me to get a 4K TV. And then the Blu-ray's fine. He said, and I would tell him, I said, a movie has to come out that I said, in 4K, that I said, I got to get the TV and a player. And the movie was Blade. When they announced Blade was coming on 4K, and Eric got me a copy, and I said, I cried with joy. I said, now I have a reason to get a 4K, and that's a hell of a 4K.
I was going to say,
wow,
what a reason! You got it. You literally texted me the day you got it. And you're like, I'm gonna watch it right now. I'm hooking everything up, and you told me you were getting it. I said, man, what a movie to watch for the first one. That first, I mean, the whole movie's good, but that first, whatever it is, 10, 15 minutes, the introduction to Blade in the rave, is still one of the best Marvel scenes in any of the Marvel movies.
And I have the whole stereo hooked up. I mean, when you hear it, I go like
5.1.
Oh my God!
It's good.
Boom, 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 boom. I said, wow. I said, it's got to be a movie. The 4K, my collection is up there. You can't see it, but it's up there. Like Die Hard's right up there. So.
Well, don't even get me started. That's going to be a whole other podcast. But yeah, you can't beat it. And when, like you were talking about, as far as seeing, black characters or black actors being promoted as heroes, whether they were viewed at by even, like you're saying, their own, as the actor, the culture was saying, well, we don't want you portrayed that way. You're saying, like, at least you got to see people like you in a heroic position.
Yeah.
Without that, you may never have gotten to. Right? Like, how many movies were being made before those kinds of movies were being made? You just didn't get them.
Yeah, what's my last poster here?
What's the other poster? I want to see the other one.
Here. This is, sometimes I saw the ultimate black film ever made. This one.
Okay.
Three the hard way. Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, Jim Kelly, and Three the hard way. You know what the premise is? Here's the premise. This movie came out in 1974. This is the premise.
Okay.
This white supremacist multimillionaire has the scientists come up with a chemical that would kill all the black people in the United
Oh
States.
my God, you gotta be kidding me.
He puts it in to put in the water supply, right?
Okay.
So these three guys find out because the scientist has been experimenting on black people,
Oh geez.
and one of them escaped, and he's a friend of Jim Brown. He escapes and tells Jim Brown, even though he's killed shortly after they track him down. So he gets his buddies to stop this guy. And it's James Bondian. There's shootouts, there's like chases, there are explosions, but the premise is that there's a plan to kill the black people in the United States, and these guys are going to stop it. And I said, you can't do this today? Oh, come on. It's 1974. You can make it back then.
I again, you know more about movies than I do, and it's probably a subject I shouldn't speak on, but I would hazard a guess that if you did it, it may not be as similar as that version, but if you did a movie similar to it, I bet you you could get it done, and I bet you it would make a lot of money.
That's what I believe.
I bet you it would. I really do.
I absolutely believe that. And particularly in this day and age.
Yeah.
Particularly in this day and age, when you have the Proud Boys, and you have January 6th, and you have the Oath Keepers, and you have what's going on, and you have Marcy Taylor Greene making a speech at a white nationalist convention, and then she says, I had no idea. I just wanted to speak to some young Americans. Who you think you're fooling? Okay, really?
Really? It's unfortunate, and all kinds of unfortunate is probably not even strong enough. It's ridiculous. But I think what out of that comes, the pendulum hopefully will swing the other way. And at that point, you're going to get movies like you're talking about. You're going to get movies that maybe you feel probably couldn't be made. You're probably going to start seeing some of that swing back at some point, and some of these things that maybe you don't feel could be made. I'm willing to bet they could be made, and not only that, they'll make money.
Well, you have to understand that also the blaxploitation films were very much a response to the times. Nixon was still president. We were still in Vietnam War. Look, you don't know what it's like to grow up, watching the war every night on TV.
No.
And thinking that this thing is going to go on forever, and that in a couple of years I could be there.
Well, in a weird way, and then once 90s happened, I remember when I first got my driver's license, and I know I remember this correctly. Someone may disregard it or tell me I'm wrong, but I remember that it was still the forced registered into the draft, or at least they put your name on a list. You may not have been officially in the draft, but it wasn't stopped until I think 92 when they said people couldn't be drafted anymore. But I remember getting my driver's license and having to sign that off. And then obviously when the first war happened in 91, then you did. That was the first televised war. So it wasn't the same as the 60s, but it was some of the stuff. I can't say that because I wasn't there. I can only empathize. But I had something similar where like, oh, this stuff's starting. And technically, I'm of age, and any day now, although they say you can't draft you never know. Well,
they had they had the draft, and they turned to a lottery, where you had But here's the thing: the difference between the Iraq War and Vietnam. In the Iraq War, you didn't see soldiers being injured or killed. On TV during the Vietnam War, you always saw soldiers being dressage,
yeah.
Right. Soldiers wounded. Soldiers being carried by helicopters who were terribly wounded. Dead soldiers. And one thing the Pentagon learned was that don't show those images again to people, to the public. So during the Iraq War, look at right now. I still haven't seen pictures of Ukrainians or dead Russians,
we're gonna stay away from that subject. It's a little
but
too,
you
the
still
nerves are a
haven't
little
seen
too
it
fresh.
yet. But during the Iraq War, you didn't see that.
No, like George Carlin would say, after so many years, if you change the words, it softened it. If you stop calling things visceral names or showing people visceral stuff, people have a less of a reason to
That's
have a
true.
visceral reaction to them. And
Yeah, that's true.
unfortunately, that's what's happened in the 90s. I'm not going to talk about what's going on now, but in the 90s, that's when that stuff started, and George Carlin was one of those people to speak out, which he also did in the 60s, which goes back to what you were talking about with the movies. It was a very different time. And the fact that you have these posters is awesome. I mean, it looks like only one of them's framed. You don't have the others
Yeah,
framed
one
yet?
is framed. Oh, I didn't show you the original one I have.
Oh,
I have
I
more
thought
too.
Superfly was original. Oh, you have another one. Okay.
No, this is the original one,
Okay.
which I didn't know was original when I bought it, but and unfortunately they folded this one, which I hate. But this is an actual original folder of one of my absolute most favorite, and most controversial films ever made,
Uh-oh.
and that is Mandingo, which is a film I love to death.
And that's an original.
To death. That's an original. This is an original poster. Mandingo with Ken Norton, and oh god, this
you
film.
gotta do me a favor. You gotta roll that when you're done.
Yeah, it was sent to me like this.
Yeah, I know.
It was sent to me like this. But I'm telling you, this movie, it's even though it's lurid, and even though it's violent, and even though it's out over the top, it's really one of the very, very first movies that deal with the reality of slavery. It really does. Really.
What year was that?
75.
Okay, yeah. So that would have been what? 8 years, 9 years before like Roots? Roots was like 84, 85?
Roots came out. No, Roots was in 79.
It was? It was in the 70s? I thought it was in the early 80s.
Roots was 79.
Okay.
79.
So that would have been a few years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that I can even tell you what theater I first saw these movies.
Go for it.
What
was Mandingo?
This was United Artists, Mandingo.
Okay.
This was Superfly Oriental Theater. Three the Hard Way, the Roosevelt.
Nice.
Rollerball, McClure Court Theater. The Mac Oriental again. Let me see. Oh yeah. Where Eagles Dare Chicago Theater. I posted. Someone took a picture of the Chicago Theater when this film was playing, and you can see it on the marquee and everything. And I said, I posted it on my Facebook page. You can find it.
I remember
and I said, my father took me to see the film at the Chicago Theater, and the thing I remember was it was the first time I noticed stereo sound.
Wow.
Because they had stereo sound and explosion. The other thing was about 30 minutes into the film, a guy sat behind us, and he will laugh every time somebody got killed.
Well, you're talking about where Eagles Fear to Tread?
No, where Eagles Dare.
Or Eagles Dare, I'm sorry.
You're right.
So it was like when a Nazi would get killed, he would laugh.
Which means he was laughing a lot.
Yeah. Like Inglourious Bastards. Yeah.
It's funny. It's Eric and I had this conversation about bonding with your fathers, or through sports.
Yeah, we talk about
Okay, my father wasn't a sports guy. He didn't follow sports. But he loved languages. He learned how to speak several languages.
Wow.
But he loved movies, particularly westerns. Westerns he loved, which is why I saw every western ever made. And but we bonded over movies because he would just take me to the movie. Being the kind of profession he was in, he could get into the movie for free.
Gotcha.
I don't want to say what,
yeah.
But he could get him for free. So
my dad was a Tom Mix guy. When I asked,
what
did you like when you were a kid? He used to watch the Tom Mix westerns. So.
Oh, you know what I saw over the weekend? All the episodes are on YouTube. All the episodes are on YouTube, right? Okay. I looked at the Republic Captain America cereal.
Yeah. Yeah, with the cloth outfit.
With the cloth outfit, he don't take it off. He's got the gut. He's trying to suck it in, but I watched it over 2 days. It's like 13 episodes. I watched the whole damn thing.
There's I think it's a TV show from the 70s with a Captain America on a motorcycle and his shield is clear plastic. It's horrible, but it's
Yeah, he
iconic.
doesn't even have a shield. He just has that.
It's
He's gonna
bad.
rob somebody. Got that mask.
Looks like a winter cap.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's the fight scenes are good. It's a Republic movie serial, which means they got a lot of explosions, a lot of car chases, a lot of. But I just watched it over the weekend. I've been meaning to watch Batman and Robin. I think that's the second Batman serial. There was Batman, and then there's a Batman and Robin.
The old black and whites.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've been meaning to watch the Batman and Robin movie serial. But you know, they're interesting because Hollywood at the time was trying to feel its way with the whole superhero comic book genre. They were trying to feel their way through it.
When you think about it, they were new. In the 30s is when really the superhero genre blew up. So when you're talking 40s, 50s, they were only 10 years old. Imagine something now that was only invented 10 years ago, just getting movies made about it. Yeah, like it's not 80 years old or 100 years old. It's fresh, 5-10 years old. They're
and it was smart.
It
we'll make it a serial since the comic books are effectively like episodes in a serial. We instead of doing a movie, we could do a serial, a 13-part serial.
Get people to come back the next week. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Right. You know, and how did he get out of this scrape?
Yeah.
Right. Tune in next week. You know, you see the car going off the cliff, and then the following week you see him jumping out of the car before the car goes over the cliff. Right.
They now, in a weird way, Netflix is doing that. You know, they release a series and you only get 8 episodes. Well, they only release 1, and then gotta wait till next week. You never know what's gonna happen. To cut things back around, you know, you'd asked me to watch Gambit, which thank you, because now I've gotten to see it. I changed my mind a little bit through here based on kind of the current events happening. Thought better than to talk about something else, but I changed it to another thing. You obviously liked the Green Hornet car, and you thought that was cool. Assuming you like, you know, the Bullet Mustang from, you know, the Steve McQueen movie.
I was just watching it. I watched it again last week for the 500th time. I love Bullet.
So do you dig
and
cars?
You know, Spielberg is going to make a new Bullet movie. Heard that?
Just I don't know.
No, hey, no. Wait a minute.
Not that it's Spielberg. I'm just talking about like. Really, Bullet, just make a different cool car movie. Why not?
Well, the thing about it is that I wouldn't mind seeing another Bullet film. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't make another one. The problem is who will play the part.
It's, you know, they're gonna.
I mean,
who knows? Maybe the dude that's playing Reacher on TV, he seems to fit that kind of. Who knows? Maybe it's some new guy that they pull out, or some guy that's not as famous.
You know, it's like because you talk about. Here I go back about old movies. You look at movie stars back in the day compared to movie stars today, you call them movie stars, there's no comparison. I mean, you look at people like McQueen or Sidney Poitier, who just passed away. You look at Poitier, you look at McQueen, you look at Gary Cooper, you look at Humphrey Bogart, you look at all these guys, and you go like, and women, and you go like, wow, you know, they're irreplaceable. They had this charisma, they had this presence, they had this uniqueness about them that Chris Pratt doesn't have. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, things. I was looking at a meme the other day. You know, they're now comparing the current quote action stars or the famous action stars to the 80s action stars. I would say the same thing probably happened in the 80s. We just didn't have memes back then, where you have the 80s stars like Schwarzenegger and Rambo and Dolph Lundgren and Jean-Claude Van Damme. They didn't look anything like the 70s and 60s action stars. It's not cyclical.
But they still had
it's
something.
Like the sign of their times.
They still had.
But then
they're interesting.
Maybe
they're
not
interesting.
Maybe not a Chris Pratt, but if you take a Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, you take a Tom Cruise as a Mission Impossible guy, you take a, maybe again we could keep Samuel L. Jackson as multiple characters. You take there are guys now that don't look like the 80s guys, but also don't look like the 70s guys, and they have their own kind of charisma. 20 years, it'll be a whole nother set of guys that look different than these three, and they'll have some other trait that'll make them cool and popular. And
You want to hear my Schwarzenegger impression?
no, no, no.
You don't want to hear it?
No, I'm good. I think I'm good. But my second thing, and the reason I brought up cars, kind of segued from, and that you mentioned you liked the Green Hornet car, and obviously the '66 Batmobile is my thing. I'm also a really big video game guy. Video games became popular in the '70s. They've been around my whole life. I love them. And I asked you to watch a couple trailers for these car games that I'm currently playing. Were you able to watch them?
Oh yeah, I gotta tell you something.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I haven't gotten into video games is because I know they're very addictive.
Oh yeah.
And I watched the car thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do anything.
All right.
For the rest of my life. I would just be playing that all day. I can't afford that, you know.
I get.
I
you.
really can't. I got to work for a living, you know. And I go like, I'll be playing it. There was a video game online that was very similar. It didn't run as fast, and this was a couple of years ago. And it was 3D, you know, it was very detailed. And I would play it all the time. I said, John, I'm doing it. Let me play this. It was over mountain ranges and the cars would be flying and all that kind of stuff. But this stuff, Xbox, you see, you should have done that.
Because now you want one.
Now
I'm telling you, you know, you talk about having a 4K TV for movies, and I talk about this all the time with children when I mention something video game wise. These machines are pumping out 4K visuals at not movie quality 24 or 30 frames a second. 60 frames a second, double the refresh rate, and they're pumping them out in 4K real time. It's like you're playing a Pixar movie. And when I talk about other games, they're adventure games. You know, you look like a little rat guy and you're going through mountains, or you're a big knight with armor and swords and all this stuff. But another awesome genre, because I'm a big car guy. I used to go to World of Wheels when I was a kid. My dad would take me there. Or the car show was a big thing every year. We used to go to the car show to look at all the new cars. I loved, especially because of, you know, like Smoking the Bandit. I love the 78, 79 Firebird, 77, 78 Firebirds, all that kind of stuff. All those cars did it for me. And now the graphics on these things, and the one I showed you is called Forza Horizon. Yeah. And it's an open world game where basically you have a map of a region that's probably the size of, you know, 6 or 8 of the northwest suburbs here in the city of Chicago. And you can just drive wherever you want. And people that play them or show them, like I showed to you, and you're like, wow, it looks so nice. They affectionately call it car porn because the cars are so detailed and beautiful. You see the specks of metal in the paint. You see the screws holding panels on the cars. You can hit a button in real time and go and be in the cockpit of the car. All the gauges work. You can turn the headlights on and off, and it's real-time reflections of your headlights off the taillights and the tail end of the cars in front of you as you're racing. Real-time weather patterns, rain, snow. It affects the traction of the tires. As you drive through mud, it leaves ruts, and so the car behind you, if it hits the rut, will actually pop it kind of out of its lane. And you add to that the fact that I can hit a button on these new machines. You can do it for the last 20 years, but you can hit a button, basically, and I can be in a world where there's another 59, I think in this case there's up to 60 other cars. They're all being piloted by people from all over the world. And I'm driving around this area, and at any point I can hit a button and invite people to race me. And then it puts you at a particular area of the map, and you just haul. The end's back all the way over there on the other side of that mountain. And it's like Smoking the Bandit or you know, whatever. Any movie, you know, Bullet, there's mountains or streets or cities, and you're just flying. And when you play this thing on a 4K television, I mean, the videos I showed you, if you watched it on your phone, odds are you probably saw it in 4K on your phone.
No, I saw on the computer.
Oh, okay. So so here's the amazing thing. Unless you're watching, YouTube normally doesn't automatically give you 4K. It gives you 1080, which is still HD, but it's only 1080, right? If you're watching that on a 4K monitor on your computer or your phone, which is a 4K screen, most of the newer phones are 4K compatible. If you watch that same footage on your 4K television, it has 4 times the resolution in what you saw it as on your monitor on your computer. It looks 4 times better than what you saw. That's how amazing this stuff looks.
You see, you're scaring me because
you want one now.
Because I want it, and I don't want to I don't want to ruin my life, because if I do this, I will play it all the time. Because because this thing is 1080.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, oh my God, this is like incredible. And I like racing games.
Okay.
I'm not into the shooting or anything. I like racing games.
Okay.
And this through all kind of terrains, desert, mountain, jungle. And is there any kind of control that has like an actual wheel I could drive?
My ultimate thing is one of these days when I start streaming gaming, I'm going to start streaming myself play games. It's a big thing that everyone does. But over here, I'm going to get a setup with a real force feedback, 360. It's actually 360. It's like 520 or something. 1 or 2.5 times rotation, force feedback. So if you hit a bump or a curb, there's a motor in the steering wheel, which will actually kick the steering wheel back. Pedals, 6-speed gear changer, or the paddles like a F1 car on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
The second trailer I showed you is for a game called Gran Turismo, and that's made by Sony, so that's on the PlayStation machine. And you saw that racing. Theirs is going to be, that comes out tomorrow, believe it or not. So that's not quite out yet, but it's similar to the Microsoft Xbox Forza game. But the Forza I showed you is more like you're talking about, like driving over hills and crashing through fences.
Yeah, Forza.
Yeah. The other racing, this Gran Turismo one, is more track based, but fun tracks like through the city of Chicago, or a real track in Monaco, or the mountains of in Japan. So there's like the Formula D drifting kind of stuff.
But that's the Sony one, right?
And Microsoft has one too called Forza Motorsport, which is similar to the Gran Turismo one, where it's more track based. But the Horizon one is the trailer I showed you for the Xbox. But the one tomorrow that's coming out called Gran Turismo, Sony makes a VR.
Your sound.
Thank you. As a VR headset. And
oh God. Oh Jesus.
I have a game where you can pilot an X-Wing like Star Wars, and I still have to get Childress over here to do it because he has the stationary motion sickness, so he's probably going to throw up, but I want him to play it because because you're literally sitting in the cockpit of an X-Wing, and it's the craziest thing. You look up and you can see a TIE fighter fly over you, and you can look around. It's awesome, and it's not even the best quality. Well, Sony is making a new version of their VR helmet, and it's called PSVR 2. That's not coming out yet. But the people that make that Gran Turismo game, which you can already use the cool foot pedals, full brake, gas pedal, brake, clutch, 6-speed transmission over here, full steering wheel, force feedback, the whole deal, right? And you can just play it on your 4K TV, which already looks cool, right? Sony.
In the next room.
Yeah, Sony has this VR, the newer version of the VR headset that's coming out. People who make their game have said it's going to be compatible with their headset. So I could set up the steering wheel with a seat here with the pedals and the 6-speed gear changer and the steering wheel with the pedals, have the game on the system, hook up the VR helmet so it's on me. I can literally be sitting in the cockpit of an F1 car or a Ford Mustang or a Porsche Cayenne, SUV, super fast SUV, or whatever cars are in the game, and you can sit in there. So while you're using the steering wheel, using the pedal, using the clutch, sitting in the cockpit view, you can sit outside so you see the car, or you can hit the button and be in the cockpit like you saw in the trailer. If you turn it to the cockpit view, your goggles are now your head. So if you turn, you can look out the driver's side of the car while you're racing. And this new headset, when it comes out, is damn near 4K. And the refresh rate is going to be much better, so it doesn't make you as sick, because that's really what affects you, is how fast the screen does it, because it's only like this close to your eyeball.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. I already love the Forza games. I like Gran Turismo. But if I can afford to, at some point, I will show you the setup, and I'll have you come here and we'll hook you up to it. It's going to be bonkers. The headset with the steering wheel and the game. These games, and again, I'm going to put a link to everything we're talking about. I'm going to put.
See, I need to start off slow. I'm an old guy. I need to start off slow.
Well, we'll get you an Xbox, and then we'll get you Forza Horizon.
But because, the only sport I really watch is Formula One. I watch Formula One.
Perfect.
Yeah, and the season starts. It always starts in April. It starts next month, from April to November.
Okay.
Actually, it's shorter this year because there won't be a Russian Grand Prix.
Well,
they have
that makes
pulled
sense.
that.
That makes sense.
They pulled it, right? Like immediately, like Monday, they pulled it, which is okay. It sucked anyway. Nobody watched it. But I love Formula One, and I said I always wondered what's it like to be in the cockpit of a Formula One car.
I'm going to get you as close as I can. They haven't set a release date yet, but the game itself comes out tomorrow. The last game they made, the last Gran Turismo game, works with my current VR headset. So it looks nice, but it's not as nice. Yeah. Well, this new game is going to look absolutely beautiful, and when the new headset comes out, hopefully I can afford to get it. I don't have the money now, but when I get it, we're going to have you over here, and I'm going to hook you up to it, and we're going to have you play it, and you're going to be able to sit in an F1 car in 4K and look around while you're driving 180 miles an hour down a track. I'm telling you, it's some of the most fun things ever, and I can't wait. The game comes out tomorrow, but I'm playing Forza Horizon, the one you saw. I'm already playing it, and I love it. They throw it out. The Horizon one's more fun, kind of silly. It's real world, so it has like a real Porsche 911 turbo from the 80s in it, right? And so you're driving around going 180
That's
miles
the car I'm driving. Yeah.
There you go.
When did that come out?
Forza Horizon 5 came out fall of last year.
Okay.
I want to say November. I'd have to look. But yeah, fall. And it's the 5th iteration. It's the best looking one, 4K, 60 frames a second. It's amazing.
I gotta be careful. I really
I don't want to get you addicted.
Because I don't want to. Because I don't want to say, "Oh, that's for young people," but no, it's not. But it's like, oh gosh, because I would just be stuck. I wouldn't get anything done. I really wouldn't.
There's literally a guy. He makes his whole living. I don't think he works at the company, and I'm gonna get his name wrong, but I think it's Daewon, Daewon. Again, I'll post a link to his channel. 99% of his content is him playing Forza Horizon 5 and doing stunts. So he'll like drifting. You've seen drift racing. He'll set up. He'll be in like this one takes place in Mexico. Forza Horizon 5 takes place in a Mexico style setting, and so you'll be out in the middle of a desert. You'll get into a sort of a favela area. You'll get more of a downtown sort of Mexico City area. And he'll be flying that car into town at 120 miles an hour, and he'll spin it out on purpose because he'll do it with the control. I think he has a setup with a steering wheel. He'll hit the brake, do it, pop the clutch, kick the ass end around in the car, and slide it through cars moving in traffic like a Baby Driver, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But he's doing it in Forza Horizon because there's so much math going on. It figures out the heat of the tires. It figures out the traction from that style of tire that you put on the car to blacktop or regular concrete or sand. And he's able to figure it out, and he's able to stunt drive, spin his car around, back in through the things, spin it around, jump over a fountain, spin it again, jump over, land on top of a truck that's moving. All while playing that game. And he's just not racing. He's just playing around in the open world, just having fun. His whole YouTube channel, and he makes his living doing this, is doing fun stuff like that. And using the steering wheel and the game and stuff to show how cool their real-life simulation of physics, textures, racing wheels, slicks to dirt tires to regular tires, all that stuff. and then this rain happens. Well, now you got hydroplaning. Now you
right.
can't drift around the corners the way you could. It'll kick the ass around too much, and you'll hit a building. So he knows to do it differently in the rain, or when he hits the sand, it's gonna bog the car down. So he has to get into a Baja truck. Now he's jumping over Baja hills and stuff in a Baja class truck. So yeah, I'm glad you got to watch it. And it's cool. I didn't even know you liked F1 or racing games for that matter. So I'm glad I picked it. I love it. And now that you got to see the trailer, I'll send you a link. It'll be in here, but I'll send it to you personally of this guy.
Yeah, okay.
It's fun. It's fun. I don't want to get you addicted, but if I show you too much, I might.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
What's your third? What's your third thing? What's making you happy?
Well, I told you what I'm looking for in the future, but what's making me happy?
You got a third one you can do.
Music always makes me happy. Music always makes me happy.
Of course.
And the fact that I'm going back to concerts. I went to my first concert at Orchestral Hall in 2 years last Friday.
Wow. What'd you see?
And that was the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra with Wynton Marsalis.
Oh, that's
which
right.
was
talking about that.
A great show. Now, I saw them at Ravinia last summer, but that was with Bradford Marsalis, and that was a great show too. So, but to be back in Orchestra Hall after 2 years, and it goes back to, concerts really became a large part of my life starting in 2001. That's a story in itself. That's a real story in itself.
But you were always a classical music guy.
Yeah. But what happened in 2001?
There's a bad thing that happened in 2001, but I'm trying to think.
Well, no, let me tell you what happened.
Okay, because the only thing I can think of is a bad thing.
Right. But this happened a month after that.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
I went to Berlin.
Oh, wow.
It was the first time I ever been to Europe. And what happened was, at the time, one of my dearest friends in the world, and she still is. She's my oldest friend. She's my dearest friend. I won't mention her name. Okay. But at the time, she was married to Sir Simon Rattle, who is one of the major conductors in the world. Okay. She's Black, African American, but she was married to him, but later got divorced. Okay. And she got the house in London and everything else. Okay.
Okay.
She made up well.
All right.
So, and that's what I stay with anytime I go to London. I stay with her.
Oh, okay.
And she's a fabulous house, 4-story house, just like. Okay.
So bad.
It was a big adventure, and this was a month after 9/11.
Wow.
Okay. And I already had the tickets, and a lot of people thought I was going to cancel. You're going to cancel, and I said, no, I'm going. I brought the damn tickets. I brought the plane tickets. I got the hotel. I'm getting free tickets. I gotta go. I'm not going anywhere. And I remember my mother saying, "You don't want to go. I hear they're going to be kidnapping American tourists." And I told her, they ain't kidnapping Black tourists. I'm going to tell you that. They don't get you nothing. Okay? Okay. So I went, and I had the most spectacular time. One of the most wonderful times I've ever had in my life. Berlin is a fascinating city. Everything is large. You think Chicago is big? Everything is large. Everything is large. Streets are large. Drinks are large. They don't give you ice in your drinks though, but everything is wide.
It's a whole different thing there. Yeah, tea's warm. There's no ice
right.
Tea.
So what happened? I was at the rehearsals and then to the concert, and always asked. And what he did, he did all the Beethoven 9 symphonies in a week with the Vienna Philharmonic in Berlin.
Wow.
Philharmonic. And so every night there was a reception. Champagne, or the German ambassador, or the Austria ambassador, or this or that. And I was friends with him. I was part of that. And it was wined and dined and taken. And I go like, it's not going to be like this all the time, Sergio, But there was one time I went to a concert and there was security everywhere. Guys with guns, everything security.
Wow.
Okay? What the hell is going on? And then I found out later that some Iranian foreign minister was in the audience.
Makes sense then.
And that uh, after the concert, you go backstage to meet to conduct the suite. They wouldn't let us in because he was back there meeting him, right?
Right.
And I said, I could have talked to him. I could have stopped the war. Come on, man.
Sergio
We ain't
Mims,
gonna
diplomat.
right. That's
You
what
can
I
add
meant.
that to the list.
But that started my whole thing about I got to travel more. I got to really start going to concerts a lot, you know. And then what happened was I started doing a radio show. I forgot how long I've been doing a radio show now, maybe 13 years.
Yeah, that's another thing we didn't list. You're also a radio host.
Right.
Yeah.
For WHPK.
Yes.
And a friend of mine said, hey, you're getting free stuff, aren't you? What are you talking about? Well, you got a radio show. You can get a lot of free stuff, like concert tickets and stuff.
Especially for someone who loves orchestral music and conducting and everything.
That's why you've been able to see the CSO.
Well, again, I can only thank you and Childress enough that the fact that you know my geekiness and you feed into it.
And there's more to come this year soon.
Yes, yeah.
Including one film, I said I was never going to get tickets for you, but I did. So anyway.
Yeah. I can appreciate it on a level that because I come from a place of ignorance. I know music. I know music, all kinds of music. Other than scores, since I was, a kid, movie scores, and obviously we talked about why am I drawing a blank?
John Williams.
Other than that, that's pretty much the only place I had heard orchestral music. Now, when I was in high school, I used to do tech crew. I'd build sets and things like that. And so I was around when they would have concerts and I would do lighting. So, I heard music there. That style of music, orchestral style of music. But I've never been an aficionado. So but I can appreciate it on a level of, they always say you're 10,000 hours. These people are at 50,000 hours, 100,000 hours. They are masters of their instruments on a level that is way beyond anything anybody could ever hope for. So to watch that, especially, again, you so graciously, I've been able to see Star Wars movies live where they take the score out of the movie and an orchestra plays it live here in Chicago. To watch them do it, even though I don't know clearly as much as you do about about it, but to watch it, not just appreciate it because you hear it and it sounds amazing, but to watch an entire orchestra do something like that live is captivating, is amazing. I can't even comprehend the skill and the level of expertise that goes into something like that.
No, it's pretty amazing. And John Williams comes from the tradition of those great composers, film composers of the past, like Jerry Goldsmith and Dmitri Tiomkin and Bernard Herrmann. If you've seen a Hitchcock film like Psycho, yep. Bernard Herrmann.
Yep.
And I think maybe the greatest composer, Wolfgang Erich Korngold, who did all the Warner Brothers swashbucklers like Captain Blood and the Seahawk. And he started his career in Europe as a classical composer. He wrote operas, he wrote symphonies, he wrote chamber works. And when the Nazis came into power, he had to flee. He was Jewish. And he came to Hollywood, and Warner Brothers said, would you like to write music for us? And he said, okay, I'll try it. And he wrote some of the greatest scores ever. And the sad thing was that when he went back to Europe, he was denigrated because he wrote movie music.
Wow, really?
He was looked down upon.
They said it, it was a lesser art
said,
or whatever.
How can you write movie from music? Right. I've played 3 hours. I did a show. I played 3 hours of nothing but Bernard Herrmann. Wow. Just like from the Hitchcock film, from Fahrenheit 451, Journey to the Center of the Earth, to the Mysterious Island, I just play 3 hours of his music, you know, because it's just so, because I got recordings of it. He's just, music is so extraordinary. And John Williams, you know, he has continued in that tradition of great film composers. But he's written concertos, he's written other works. He's written so much. And you know, he's 90 now. He says he may have given up, you know, writing for movies. You know, he just wanted to concentrate on more concert stuff.
He said
But
the
his
other day he
legacy
came
is
out of
set.
retirement for one song, and it was the new Obi-Wan show theme.
Right.
That was it. And he's like, "Yep,
Yeah.
going back. I'm
But
going
but
back to
but but
want to hear
his
me
legacy
again."
is set. He started on TV when he was Johnny Williams.
You're the one who taught me that. I didn't know he did Lost in Space
Yeah.
till you told me that, and I was like, "What?" And then you hear it, and you go, "Yeah,
Or
that's him."
listen to this song for Guide to the Married Man. He wrote this
really?
this comedy with, yeah,
Okay.
the guy with the married man. And that's
Okay.
Johnny Williams when he was Johnny Williams, right?
That's
And
hilarious.
then you know, by Jaws he became you know, John Williams, and now he's Lord.
Yeah.
John Williams, you know. The Right Honorable John Williams. Yeah.
You know, I like I've said before to Eric, and I think I've talked to you about it. Like again, coming from a place of ignorance, I'm freely willing to admit this. Is I understand, so I can appreciate watching the ensemble, right? I don't know, because I'm ignorant. I don't know the skill of the conductor part.
I tell you what conductor does. It's very simple.
Okay.
It's very simple. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people think the conductor conducts. Anybody can conduct an orchestra. One,
Okay.
2, 3. One. A conductor interprets the score. You look at the score with all the notes and everything, and you look at it, and you say, "What is the composer?" Okay, there are two ways to interpret it. You can try to say, "This is what the composer wanted to say. And it's my job to bring that out." Or you can say, like Bernstein was, "Okay, what do I think this movie is really saying?" He may not what the composer was thinking. This is what I think he was trying to say.
Sure.
And it's a different approach. The conductors had two different approaches, right? Bernard Haitink, who I knew very well.
There you go. Show and tell.
Bernard Haitink, this is the who passed away a few months ago at the age of 93. But Bernard Haitink, who I got to know very well, this is the Ring of the Nibelung, all 12 of Wagner's operas.
Wow.
He autographed it for me.
Oh, nice.
You know, and when he passed away, I sent his widow a card, and she sent me a beautiful thank you note, which I have in the next room. She said, "Sergio, thank you so much." I mean, he was a great conductor, but he was very much strictly to the score. This is what my job is, to interpret the score.
Okay.
This is what the composer was. Now, Van Karajan, who's here, this is the same thing. Ring of the Nibelung. Look at the size of this package.
Wow.
It's
got to be what?
He very much
10, 12 discs?
This is 12 discs.
Yeah, that's close. There you go. I guess
this is 12 discs.
Yeah.
Right. This is, you know, Ride of the Valkyrie.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Of course. Well, real quick though, why do you think I know that though?
Why?
Looney Tunes.
Yeah. Looney Tunes did a lot of classical music.
Tons of it.
You know how many people had told me they learned classical music from watching Bugs Bunny?
Yeah. That's why I say I come from a place of ignorance. I don't know it on a higher level, but the appreciation for it is there because it gets put in your head from at least guys my age, it gets put in our head because of Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the same thing, except Carry-On is, this whole set is maybe 14 hours. It's about 12 hours.
Wow.
Carry-On has slower tempos, but I have a whole ton. I can't begin to show you my CD collection, which is spread over 2 rooms. That's ridiculous. He was very much reinterpreting what the music is. This is what I think the conductor tries to do. But this is what conductor does. You interpret the music. You know, there are orchestras that don't have a conductor, like the Orpheus. They don't have a conductor. You don't need them. I mean, to take time, they all get together and they decide themselves, a committee, how should we play this? How should we
Oh.
interpret this? Right? Anybody can wave a stick in front of an orchestra, but how do you interpret the
See?
music?
I always see again. I didn't know. I always assumed you had to have the conductor with the orchestra.
Yeah.
And you're saying that obviously
No,
there
there's
are
some houses that
orchestras.
don't have one. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
look at the jazz, the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra. You got all these musicians. There's no conductor.
See, when I think of ignorance. When I think of jazz, I think of a jazz band. I know there's jazz orchestra because that's kind of what they do in high school. Kind of, they teach them jazz orchestra.
I mean,
But
there's no strings, but it's all
right,
brass and woodwinds
horns,
and well, no, there is strings. There's the
percussion.
bass. There's the bass, the double bass
Yeah.
strings. The guy plucks right.
But like, I don't think of a large jazz orchestra other than like a Count Basie kind of thing. But there was those guys he wasn't those leaders weren't, they were big band conductors, but they weren't. Were they even called conductors, or they were kind of just called?
No, but
they
were band leaders.
Leaders,
but they are keeping time.
Yes,
They're keeping time. You may not catch it. They are keeping time. Go and they'll give a little twinkle now to the orchestra. Or you may have to cue in somebody to do a solo, or pick up that cue here, which is what conductors do. But the thing about it is that that's what conductors do, to interpret the music.
Okay.
So and there are conductors I love, like Bernstein. I still think it's the greatest conductor ever. I think he was, what he did was amazing. And when I was a kid, you say, this is what they don't have anymore. It's like, when I was a kid, they would have young people's concert. And it was 3 or 4 times a year. And it was a show in the afternoons that Leonard Bernstein would have a concert where you talk to kids and says, I'm gonna, explain to you Berlioz's Symphony Fantastique. I remember that performance. And this is what Berlioz is trying to say. Here, these are snakes writhing on the ground. Do, 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 do. Wow. See, when the strings go percusso, those are skeletons dancing. And it go like, wow. Wow, that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So, right. But, and that leads into what I'm looking for in the future. So
okay, let me cram in my third one real quick. I'll do it pretty quick because we're kind of running out of time, but I'll cram it in really quick here. I just want to verify that I got this right before I say it. Yeah. So again, a pop culture thing from my childhood. You were talking about Star Wars and merchandising, and I was talking about Batman and '66 and stuff. But one of the things that started when I was a kid was Transformers. And I know you were probably too old to care about the cartoon, and
I was way too old.
And your reference of it is the Michael Bay movies.
Oh.
Yeah, I will fight a little bit for the first one. I still don't think it's a great movie, but it's enjoyable for what it was, and I got to finally see them in live action. And I still think the CGI there is some of the best CGI I've ever seen. Regardless, it's not an awesome movie, and they only got worse with time. So, whatever. Bumblebee
they got even lazier with time.
Bumblebee was pretty good though. I'll give it that. Bumblebee was pretty good, but that went right to my head. You got cars, you got cartoons, you got cool synthwave music, you got transforming robots fighting each other. Like, that just was fuel to my brain at that point, mid 80s. And I had some Transformers when I was a kid, but again, it's now 40 years have gone by, and so it's all coming back. And so they've like re-released the original toys in commemorative packaging from like when I was a kid. And so it's the old original. See how they're very small? They're about the size of my hand or smaller. It's his name's Prowl, which you've seen in the movies, the squad car but he's evil in the movie. This is the Autobot, the good guy from when I was a kid. He's not transformed yet, but that's kind of what he looks like when he's transformed. And so this is like commemorative. It's a classic reissue of the toy from when I was a kid. I had the original one, And then when they reissued him, I bought him because he's one of my favorites. So, but they've gotten into high-end collectors, and they're called masterpiece editions. And they're made with metal, and they are hefty, and they fully transform. They're super high detailed, and they're big. They're clunky, and they're metal, and they feel like what you're paying for them, like it's worth it. And I'll just show you Optimus Prime because he's one of the fancier ones. But this guy is huge. Look how big he is. He will
bigger than your head.
Yeah, he will fully transform into a truck. And he's got his little blade on and his little gun and everything. But like all of this stuff is metal, die cast, like a Hot Wheel. Almost the whole thing is. This thing weighs a couple pounds. Like, it's hefty. And when you open him up, remember there's like a thing in the movie. It's in his chest, and you can pop it out from the animated film. But like, this is stuff. These are more for the collectors my age now. But like, this is hefty, and they still, whether the movies were any good or not, the cartoon has a lasting effect. They are still making comic books based off the lore from the cartoon from when I was a kid. So not so much the movies, but there is still a love and a passion for this idea of transforming cars, these refugees from another planet that was breaking itself down, they and political intrigue and stuff, and they come to our planet. They're here since the dinosaurs. They awaken, and to disguise themselves, they become common planes and cars and trucks and stuff. But man, that is right up a kid's alley when you're that age. You know, cars, die-cast cars, trucks, construction vehicles. Devastator in the movies was bad. His name is Devastator. They call him a Gestalt figure, which is 5 Transformers that then merge into a giant Transformer. He was construction vehicles in I think the second Transformer movie. That version's dumb. But they made one that's accurate to the cartoon. And that's what this one is. Hold on. Let me do this.
You gotta take 2 hands to lift it.
He's this big.
Jesus. Oh, that one.
Yeah. And so he's from the cartoon. He looks like the cartoon version.
Right.
As opposed to the horrible one that's in the movies. But each one of these pops off. So you have like the bulldozer, the cement truck, the all that stuff, and these all break apart, and then they transform into robots, and then they get stuck together. But like, this thing's massive. It is still in pop culture. They still want to make more Transformers movies, even though the last ones were horrible, because it endures. It's such a simple idea, whether you're a kid or an adult, of refugees trying to escape and conflict. And cars and trucks and they each have a personality. It still endures. The comic book, the rights just got changed to another company again, but IDW's been doing comic books, I think, for the last 15 years, and they're beloved. If you're a Transformers fan and a comic book fan, you'll read this new 15-year mythology of all these characters. And if you really want to go back, the cartoons in Japan that they used to bring over here to do the combo animation, they use similar characters, but it's the Japanese version. Some of them are named different, the story's slightly different. So there's tons of stuff, and that they endure, and I still get to enjoy them on some level at my age. And hopefully they're going to finally make another good movie at some point in my life. They still bring me joy. I have, a Grimlock figure. But one of the things I wanted to bring up about them is they did one of the bravest things from when I was a kid was, you have this TV show that's primarily used to just sell you toys. All those cartoons when you're kids, or at least when I was a kid. It's the villain of the week, the bad guy of the week. Hey, we have some new toys. Put them in the show so that the kids want to go and get the toys. They had, I can't think of another term. They had some balls, because the TV show is the lasers, red and blue, and no one ever dies. There's not a whole lot of consequences. It's made for kids. I think it's 84 or 85. They have an animated movie called Transformers the Movie. and Stan Bush, You Got the Touch, the song, came from there. They got stars to be in there. Leonard Nimoy, Orson Welles, his last movie appearance was
Orson Welles was doing anything back then.
True, but his last appearance period was on Moonlighting, which I'll talk about at some other time because it's one of my favorite TV show. But Orson Welles, his last movie performance was in Transformers the animated movie. And it took the characters. It literally was like, hey, here's your cartoon. Hey, kids, go see Transformers the movie. And it was the same animation, but better quality. And they hyped up this whole thing that this world ender was coming. Unicron, the planet transformer. Like, it was like a moon, like the Death Star, but it transformed into a giant robot kind of thing. All these great stars came out for it. Like I said, Leonard Nimoy did a voice, and there's a bunch. And but Orson Welles is the biggie, right? Within the first 20 minutes of the movie, I want to say 20 minutes, you have the big penultimate battle. Optimus Prime against Megatron. One shall stand, one shall fall, he says, right? And you're like, yeah, it's like the show. Nothing ever really happens. They're just going to beat each other up and they're going to go away. You have a bunch of 10, 11, 12-year-old kids go to the movies to see this movie. Megatron beats the ever-living hell out of Optimus Prime finally. He gets the upper hand and kills him. Kills him in the movie. Megatron is so hurt and damaged, he's falling apart, and his simpleton number 2 guy, right, takes over. I finally can be leader of the Decepticons. Starscream is his name. He goes on a ship. He throws all the wounded Decepticons out into space and kills them all, a whole bunch of them. The Autobots, half of them get shot and killed. Like, they literally show one shooting another one in the head and his head exploding. And you're like, what in the hell is going on?
So you're saying you were traumatized?
I wasn't traumatized because I was a tiny bit older, but I can imagine like a 9-year-old, like when I asked my mom to go see RoboCop, I was a little bit older. I think I was 13 or 14, and my mother was like, why the hell did you make me come see this movie? Imagine being 9 and being like, Transformers, Mom, I got my Optimus Prime, and you go see it. They wanted to put all their new toys on the shelves, so they killed all the characters, a whole ton of the characters in the movie, slaughtered them. Shot him in the head, blow them up, rip their arms off. Megatron was thrown out into space, and you thought he was dead. He comes back, shoots Starscream in the face, kills him. Orson Welles melts a bunch of them down. This is planet thing he is. Melts them all down, retransforms them, brings them back as meaner characters that are even more bloodthirsty than the ones that were before. It was crazy as a kid that they did that, and it was all done because they wanted new toys on the shelves. But they didn't tell anybody what they were doing, and it was the craziest thing. And it's still one of the bravest things I've ever seen a toy company do. They swore in it. I think they got a damn and a shit in it. I think it was PG-13. It was like right after, Temple of Doom, so I think it was a PG-13. It was bonkers. And I would tell anybody if you've never seen it, I doubt you would really enjoy it, but the audacity of a cartoon, and then I think that's why it endures. It was one of these things that was huge after school. You come home, you got to see the new Transformers episode, and then you buy the toys, and then you go to the movie, you watch them bloodthirsty kill each other, and then you get to buy all new toys, and it was this big space opera. And so again, I'll still watch them. I'll throw them on every once in a while in the background, and I'll still get, every once in a while when I got the money or they go on sale, I'll grab another Masterpiece one, these big kind of expensive collector's things for me. Again, I imagine you have no appreciation for this other than maybe in a bad way for those Michael Bay movies.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to go from large to small.
Okay.
You ever see Antiques Roadshow?
Yeah.
Okay.
On occasion.
There was a guy last year, I think it was, or year before last. He had a Hot Wheels VW surfer bus.
Yes.
His father worked for Mattel. And this was a prototype that they didn't put into production. And it's considered a holy grail of Hot Wheels. The guy appraised it at $300,000. And it was like that small. And there are people around, you know, going like, what? You know, he said, this car is the most valuable Hot Wheels car on the planet. There's only like two in existence, and you have one because your father worked in Mattel, and he happened to have this one. It was gold color, I remember, with surfboards.
I think the big thing with that one is because it had the surfboards, and they had to take the surfboards out or cut them and glue them in, because if they fell out, they didn't want anyone choking on them, kind of like the Boba Fett figure with the firing missile.
Uh-huh.
I think that was why that was a big deal. It had the
I think
surfboards that
that
moved.
was it, right?
Yeah, wow, that's yeah, it's I don't know. It again, guys my age, a certain percentage of us say you say Transformers, that's what you think of, and now that they're catering to people like me with these more expensive, fancy ass versions, I
Well,
just
no, there's money nostalgia.
oh yeah, I just hope they do another good
What do you think
movie.
these movie posters are? They're
Oh,
just
yeah.
nostalgia. It's just going back to a time when I was just going to the movies and just love them for what they are, you know. And these all these posters I show are movies that inspired. Well, inspired is maybe the wrong word, but with the math. But movies that just got to me, you know. I just really liked them, and it impressed me. The movies I went to see again and again at the show because, well, what is it about this movie I like? And by the way, I should add that the person who gave me the Superfly poster worked on the film.
Oh, that's even cooler then.
Right. Who it was married to the conductor who lives in London. I've known her for a long time.
There you go.
She's the one who gave me this poster. Right.
Remind me next time I see you, either Eric or I, we need to give you a poster tube. The fact that they're out like that, do you normally keep them in a poster tube? I got to get you a poster tube. I can't stand seeing them like that.
No. I got two. They're in the next room.
Okay,
I took
good.
them out.
Okay. Thank
No,
God.
I know. I got
I
two.
thought you had them out like that. I was like, oh,
I just took out the ones that well, there's more tubes in the back.
Okay, good.
What am I looking forward to?
Yeah, we got maybe 10 or 15 minutes, or the podcast
Okay, I can do
will
real
kill it.
fast.
So yeah,
Number one,
I don't want to rush you. Do what you got to do. Mine will be quick.
No,
so.
number one is this whole thing I've been invited to for Turner Classic Movies. Yes. Classic Film Festival. They do it every year. Well, this is the first time in 2 years they're doing it live in person, like they used to at the Man Chinese Theater. Wow. Still working on exactly what I'm going to be doing there. I know I am introducing one of the pictures and doing a panel afterwards. There's another film I'm trying to get them. As a matter of fact, I texted them today. I'm trying to get them to show, which is the 50th anniversary of this particular picture. So I'm working on that, but that's end of April.
Okay.
And then the big thing also in September, I'm going back to Lucerne Summer Music Festival. All the major orchestras in the world go there. It's in August and September. All the major conductors. I have tickets already for 5 concerts.
Wow.
The last time I was in Lucerne was 2009. And so, which is a beautiful town. There are swans everywhere. No joke. Unfortunately, in August, two concerts were canceled because it's a Russian orchestra with a Russian conductor, so they've been canceled.
It's gonna be a lot of
That's okay. I wasn't going to those anyway.
Yeah.
But it's the London Symphony. I'm seeing the Vienna Philharmonic. I'm seeing the Philadelphia Orchestra. 5 concerts. It's going to be. I've got the tickets already. They're giving it to me. I have the hotel room already. Still waiting for a good flight ticket thing.
That's probably going to be a little bit harder.
I kind of blew it. I'll wait a couple more months. I think I'll find some more favorable prices. And right now, I don't like the prices. I really don't. Believe me, I've flown there. I can get it for a lot cheaper. So, but that's what I'm looking forward to. And traveling. I hate the process of traveling.
Sure.
But once I'm there, I have a great time. I just don't like getting there. Nobody does, especially nowadays,
Yeah. I can't even imagine being, I don't care if it's train or plane station, an airport. I can't imagine sitting in that crowd, sitting in those lines, waiting, getting shoved into a plane and a millimeter, just being cramped in those seats again. But yeah, like you said, once you get somewhere, especially when you have something to look forward to like that, uh, you can't beat it once you're there.
And I haven't been in LA in maybe 20 years. Just one time I used to go to LA every year, maybe spend a month or two there. I haven't been there. I don't know, because now I tend to go to New York or overseas. So back in LA, that'd be fun. I like to see how it's changed after all these years.
Not only could I not afford it, but because of everything that's happened with COVID, Childress and I would go to Vegas about every other year. So
I've been meaning to ask him about that.
Yeah,
is he planning to go back soon? No, not yet.
I highly
I don't
doubt
think
it.
so.
I highly doubt it. I know I won't be going for a while, but just even financially. But yeah, I can see where that would be something to look forward to. It's not just one concert. You said 5. You have tickets to 5.
Yeah, 5
That's
in a row.
awesome. That's awesome.
5 in a row. And last time I was there, I had a great time. It just expanding your horizons. Some people, I say to myself sometimes, why did I wait so long? But in reality, it happens when it's the right time.
Yeah.
Everything happens. So I don't think I could have gone. I said the first time I went to Europe was 2001. I don't think I could have gone before. I wasn't ready. I was ready. A month after 9/11, but I was ready.
Well,
time to go.
Again, that's what this whole thing that I tried to start is about. Is when all this crap hits the fan, you got to find something to focus on, to try to make yourself sane, happy, whatever you want to call it. Like you got to, because when things are falling apart around you, for all kinds of reasons, political, yes, socioeconomical, whatever, personal, family, you got to have something to bring you joy, because if you don't, it's rough. It's rough.
Next time I've been to London now, 10 times, 11 times. I love that city. I love it to death.
Childress just said, "Oh, I need me some Vegas."
Yeah, see, I know he's got to go.
That's right.
Next time if you ever go to London, I can tell you where is the best all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet.
Wait, you're going to London to get all Chinese buffet?
No, if you go, I can tell you where to go to get the best all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet. I eat there all the time.
I'll tell you this really quick before I do my thing I'm looking forward to. But
you got an all-you-can-eat place in Vegas I can go to?
Oh yeah. That's the king of all-you-can-eat places. Every hotel has one. We just can't afford to, and we haven't been able to in a while. So we haven't really been able to travel far, especially far. And I've never been to Europe at all, and either has she. Mm-hmm. But one of the things, hopefully, we can save over the next 5 to 10 years. At some point, I would like to just get a Eurorail pass and go. I don't think you can do it anymore from England to the rest. But
I think you can.
Well, they're not. They're not part of the EU anymore. I think you might be able to.
Oh, that's right.
But you got to do all that customs garbage. It's not as easy as it used to be.
Oh, God, they screwed that all up.
Yeah,
right.
A whole nother issue. But at the very least, I would like to just get a Eurail pass, book a couple hotels along the way, and just hit everything, because I'll probably never be able to go back. And so I want to just hit as much as I can.
Never say never.
Never
say never.
I know. But again,
positivity,
like
you said last time, positivity.
That's true. Positivity. I will. But the thing I'm looking most forward to, or right now I'm thinking about, is I keep seeing stills of the freeze frame, and we were talking about it a little bit earlier with the music, is the Obi-Wan series for the Star Wars Obi-Wan series from Disney Plus. It's coming up quick. I love that they're getting all these actors back, as much as people want to crap on Hayden Christensen. And but they're getting Qui-Gon Taken. What's his name? The actor from Taken.
You mean Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson. They're getting him back as I'm assuming the Force Ghost, and they're getting Hayden Christensen back. They're getting Ewan McGregor back. They're showing Obi-Wan being on Tatooine while Luke's growing up as a baby, and what he went through with the living on that planet. And I'm just curious. I'm just curious to see what they do with it. I'm glad I get this stuff. When we saw Jedi and we thought it was all over in '83, we never pictured any of this stuff would ever happen. And so the fact that I got 2 more trilogies and now I'm basically getting a new TV show every 6 months or every 4 months, I'm in heaven. Whether it's always perfect or every episode is great, or you want to not like what Boba Fett is, but you like Mandalorian, or you don't like this, or you don't like that, or you don't like the cartoons, I get more of it. And so when it does hit, it hits good, I get more of it. I get my little dopamine hit. And seeing these still pictures of grizzled, sort of they're graying out Ewan McGregor's beard, and they're kind of trying to morph him into Alec Guinness a little bit.
He's already there now without makeup. Anyway.
Well, they got to do the gray. They got to gray his hair up. They got, I'm sure they're going to do a little prosthetic, to kind of make him sort of look a little more like Alec Guinness. But I can't wait. I can't wait to see what they do, what characters they introduce, the ones they bring back. Hayden Christensen around. Well, now he's Vader. So how do they do that? It's not like Vader's going to show up on Tatooine. So what does that play into it?
Well, you know who to thank.
Yeah. Favreau.
You know who to thank.
Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy and...
No.
Who?
I mentioned in the beginning of the show. Alan Ladd Jr.
Oh, yes.
Because if Alan Ladd Jr.
You're right.
hadn't told Lucas, yeah, you can go ahead. You can keep on understanding, right? The late, great Alan Ladd Jr. passed away today. Go ahead. You can go ahead.
See, it all wraps around.
All this stuff.
It all wraps around. See how you did that? You perfect.
Around.
Came right back to the beginning. I'll also the Desilu movie, made everyone realize that Lucille Ball is responsible for Star Trek. A lot of people don't know that.
That's right. Yeah.
So in a very similar fashion, without her, there would be no Star Trek, and without Ladd, there would be no Star Wars and Lucas, obviously. But yeah. So again, I can't thank you enough.
This was fun. I was really, really looking forward to this. This was a lot of fun. This is,
glad.
by the way, the smallest room in the house. This is where I do my commentaries.
Well, this is a basement, and it smells like one. So
actually, the desktop is right here. This is where I do it with the microphone. It's all this stuff. This is where I do it. This is where I was talking to those guys when I did Gambit.
There. Oh, okay. See, there you go. See, again, comes back around, full circle.
Comes back around.
Well, thank you so much. Again, anybody who's listening to this, please like, subscribe, comment down in the comments if you're watching it. Click the little thumbs up button. You'll get notifications when we go live, which is usually every Wednesday, roughly around 7 o'clock. All our contacts are going to be in there, including Sergio's Twitter handle. Is there anywhere else they can find you online? I will also include a link. I know WHPK,
Facebook.
You're still doing that, right?
I'm on Facebook. That's under my name.
We're getting weird
Sergio Mims
now.
And then also on Instagram under my name, Sergio A. Mims.
Okay.
Right.
And again, those links will be in here. And again, I can't thank you enough. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.